Chapter 1559. In the Qinling Mountain Range. Just as Ao Tian was summoning countless strange beasts from the Qinling Mountain Range with his endless dragon roars, Thaling, who had successfully refined the wedding dress in just over 40 seconds, handed the gorgeous white tunic dress to Lin Mingyao and greeted her with a smile like an amiable elder. "Little Mingyao, take a look at the wedding dress I refined for you. What do you think? It's so beautiful." With the help of the yuan, qi, and soul force that Yu Haoran poured into her body, Lin Mingyao struggled to stand up and looked at the white tunic dress in Thaling's hands, her eyes revealing a look of pleasant surprise. "Senior, thank you." Yao Yao carefully took the white tunic dress and sincerely bowed to Thaling. "Thaling, thank you." Looking at the white tunic dress that was identical to the wide-sleeved fairy dress, but with a different color, Yu Haoran understood Thaling's true intentions and clenched his fists as he thanked him. "Hurry up." After nodding in response to Yu Haoran and Lin Mingyao's thanks, Thaling returned to Yao Yao's knowledge, and deliberately gave her a reminder. "Mingyao, hurry up and change into your wedding dress, then go take a look at the wedding venue I arranged for you." It had been more than 2 minutes since she took the myriad drug milk, so Yu Haoran understood Thaling's intention and hurriedly suggested with a smile, "Senior brother, can you turn around first?" No matter how much she liked Yu Haoran in her heart, Lin Mingyao was still an inexperienced girl after all and was unable to undress in front of her lover. "Got it." After smiling and nodding in response, Yu Haoran turned around and asked Thaling with a murderous look in his eyes, "Thaling, how strong is the Lung clan?" 3 of the Emperor Wu's high-level almighty experts who were still in a deep sleep, 2 of the Emperor Wu's peak Grade 1 and early Grade 2 almighty experts who had just woken up, and 17 peak Grade 9 martial revered experts. When he was searching for Lin Mingyao's whereabouts, Thaling had used his powerful divine thought of the demigod realm to check the entire Lung clan from head to toe thrice. He knew the details of the Lung clan like the back of his hand. "Thaling, can you get rid of the 3 sleeping Emperor Wu advanced mighty figures in advance?" Emperor Wu, who had just woken up, was at the peak of level 1 and the early stage of level 2. Not only was his strength extremely weak, but his consciousness had not really adapted to the current environment. At most, he could exert the strength of an early stage Emperor Wu. If Yu Haoran used the method of overdrawing the bloodline of the witch ancestor, he was confident that he could kill the 2 Emperor Wu advanced mighty figures who had just woken up within 3 moves. However, Emperor Wu advanced mighty figures who were level 7 and above not only had the strength of their physical body to withstand the attack of an upper Emperor realm weapon, but also had the power of law that had completely integrated into their physical body. Even if they were in a deep sleep, they would still have the strength to fight back fiercely. Therefore, if he wanted to avenge Lin Mingyao, he had to have the strength to deal with the 3 sleeping Emperor Wu advanced mighty figures. "Yu Haoran, don't worry. Leave the 3 sleeping guys to me." Although Yu Haoran did not say it directly, Thaling, who knew his character very well, knew that he wanted the entire Lung clan to die with Lin Mingyao. To put it simply, he wanted to slaughter the entire Lung clan. Lin Mingyao's experience, cold clouds, beastly behavior, and Yu Haoran's grief made Thaling suppress a surge of anger in his heart. Therefore, in the face of Yu Haoran's plan to slaughter the entire Lung clan, not only did he not oppose it, but he also supported it with his own actions. "Senior brother, I'm done changing." After hearing Thaling's practical actions to support his idea of taking revenge on the Lung clan, Yu Haoran was about to thank him when Lin Mingyao's voice came from behind him. Turning his head, Yu Haoran only took one glance and was completely stunned. Beautiful. The white corset dress set off the delicate and charming temperament, making Lin Mingyao look like a fairy from 100 flowers, making people want to take good care of her. "Senior brother, am I beautiful?" Looking at the stunned Yu Haoran, Lin Mingyao felt a sense of joy in her heart. She wanted to hear his heartfelt praise. "My celestial robe dyed the sky blue, begging to see the dawn." Yu Haoran couldn't help but sigh as he walked to Lin Mingyao's side and looked at her blushing face. "Mingyao, you're too beautiful. You're so beautiful that you're like an otherworldly firework, like a fairy dancing among 100 flowers. After praising her from the bottom of his heart, Yuhaoran took out a sky-blue robe that Emperor Qin ordered the Imperial Household Department to embroider for him from his storage ring. After changing out his old robe, he reached out and held Lin Mingyao's lily-white hand. Then, he took out the rainbow auspicious cloud that Thaling had specially refined for him and Qin Lingfei when he was engaged to her. Then, he stepped on the rainbow auspicious cloud and came to the surface through the spacious passage that He Xiong had opened. At this time, tens of thousands of strange beasts of different grades and species had gathered around under Ao Tian summoning. At the front of the tens of thousands of strange beasts stood 5 petite, emperor-level strange beasts that exuded a terrifying aura. Human powerhouses, why did you ask Yinglong to use the divine power of the dragon god to summon us? Looking at Yinglong, who was quickly shrinking its body and standing respectfully behind Yuhaoran, a green flood dragon on the east side, who was only about 2 meters tall and looked very similar to a human, asked in a relatively polite tone. 5 seniors, time is of the essence. There's no time to explain the situation in detail. I can only make it short. Yuhaoran cupped his fists and explained briefly to the 5 emperor-level beasts around him. My beloved wife was assassinated by a vile person. Her soul spontaneously combusted until only a fragment of her soul was left. I promised to give my beloved wife an unforgettable wedding before she dies. At this point, Yuhaoran bowed to the tens of thousands of strange beasts in the surroundings, then straightened his body and requested. Therefore, I asked Yinglong to summon all of you here with the power of the dragon god in the hopes that you can witness our wedding. Most of the strange beasts that were able to arrive at the scene immediately were powerful strange beasts above the refined saint stage in the Qinling mountain range. With their sensitivity to auras, they had long noticed that Lin Mingyao's aura was not right. At the same time, from the shyness on Lin Mingyao's face, the joy in her heart, and the anger that Yuhaoran had been suppressing, the strange beasts at the scene believed his explanation and request. Although they had no interest in witnessing a human wedding, the terrifying power in Yuhaoran's body made the 5 newly awakened emperor-level strange beasts realize that the young human in front of them had the terrifying strength to defeat or even kill them. Chapter 1560. In the Qinling Mountains. Thank you. Yuhaoran cupped his hands and thanked the tens of thousands of strange beasts after getting the approval of the 5 emperor-level strange beasts. Then, he held Lin Mingyao's hand again and led her to the tower-shaped mountain peak that the black bear condensed with the gravity spell. Mingyao, when I was young, I heard my mother tell me a love story about a flower fairy and a human. It was said that in the Middle Ages, there was a god who used flowers to prove his Tao. The god had the most beautiful flower in the world under his throne. This beautiful flower listened to the gods preaching all year round and gradually gained its own intelligence. After 10,000 years of cultivation, it gained its own abhijna. In the end, it could transform into a peerless beauty that could topple countries and cities. She was deeply loved by the god and was given the name Epiphyllum. The god had a total of 99 disciples. The 99th disciple was a person who was stupid and didn't know how to be flexible. He was often bullied and humiliated by the other disciples. But not only did that disciple never get angry, she also maintained a kind and honest personality. Perhaps it was because of that disciple's honest and kind personality, or perhaps it was because that disciple often took care of the Epiphyllum before she achieved Tao. The Epiphyllum unknowingly fell in love with that disciple. In the Middle Ages, there was absolutely no private relationship between the different races. So when the god found out that his favorite Epiphyllum fell in love with his disciple, he was furious and punished her. Although she had his yuan qi and soul power, it would be very difficult for Lin Mingyao, whose soul was about to collapse. To reach the peak of 999 meters in just a minute was probably very difficult. Therefore, Yuhaoran loosened his tightly clenched hands and directly hugged Lin Mingyao's slender waist. He let her use her own strength to quickly climb up and continued to tell the love story between her and the tower-like mountain peak in front of them. Perhaps it was because the love between the epiphyllum and that disciple moved the heavens. Or perhaps it was because the god liked the epiphyllum too much and couldn't bear to see her die. In the end, the god gave the epiphyllum and that disciple a test. Pointing at the mountain under his feet, Euhauran continued with a complicated look in his eyes. The gods used their divine powers to create a tower that is 999 meters tall. As long as that disciple can reach the tower from the bottom in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, not only will that disciple be able to see the epiphyllum again, but they will also become a family member. Lin Mingyao interrupted Euhauran all of a sudden. She frowned and asked, "Seeing your brother, if he's a disciple of a god, then that disciple must be at a high rank." The tower is only 999 meters tall. He can reach it in a flash. Mingyao, if the gods agree with the love between Tanhua and that disciple, why would they deliberately set up a test that seems simple but is actually impossible to complete? Tightly hugging Lin Mingyao's small waist, Euhauran's expression carried a trace of contempt as he mocked. That disciple not only has to have his cultivation sealed by the gods to pass through the 999 meters tall tower, but he also has to go through 999 bolts of lightning during the climb. Euhauran said with a tinge of sadness as he stepped onto the pagoda-shaped peak and looked down at the tens of thousands of mutated beasts below. He then looked at the Lung clan in the periphery of the Qinling mountain range. That disciple, in order to be able to marry the woman he loved, could be said to have risked his life. Although he finally succeeded in reaching the peak before the incense burned out, because he lost all the blood in his body and his soul was completely dried up, he fell at a position only 3 meters away from the epiphyllum. Watching the man she loved die in front of her eyes, the grief-stricken epiphyllum chose to burn her divine soul to accompany him in the way of blooming her own flower. Epiphyllum blossoms for a brief moment, but the beauty of the city is still there. She will accompany the Buddha for the rest of her life. Euhauran put away his complicated feelings and cupped his fist to the tens of thousands of beasts. I wonder if there are any friends here who are familiar with human marriage ceremonies? Me, a handsome blazing horse with red and white stripes at the peak of the 7th grade of the Exalt realm, responded loudly and soared into the sky while stepping on a cloud of fire. This is a 2nd rank, 1st rank fire cloud pill. It can help you reach the 8th rank of the Exalted realm directly. Consider it your reward. Euhauran took out a pill that was emitting a scorching aura from his storage ring and flicked it to the flame horse as he explained with a smile. Just by presiding over a wedding that couldn't be any simpler, he was able to obtain a pill that could directly increase his Exalt realm. Some of the exotic beasts present who were also familiar with human weddings instantly felt extremely vexed. Euhauran transferred a stream of pure origin energy and soul power into Zhou Mingyao's body and covered her with a red silk cloth. Euhauran stepped back 3 steps and nodded to the fiery horse. First, bow to heaven and earth. Euhauran and Lin Mingyao got down on their knees and bowed to heaven and earth. Second, bow to your parents. Euhauran and Lin Mingyao got down on their knees in the direction of Xianyang City in the south. Husband and wife bowed to each other. Euhauran looked at each other and got down on his knees. After kowtowing, he raised his head and roared at the sky, unable to control the sadness in his heart. Mingyao! At this moment, Zhou Mingyao was still kneeling and kowtowing, but her breath of life had completely disappeared. Euhauran, let the blood of the 73,537 members of the Lung family ignite the endless anger that Mingyao brought to you. Thaling, who was also enraged, reminded Euhauran when he heard Euhauran's sorrowful roar. Let the lives of the Lung family's 73,537 clansmen be buried with Mingyao. Hearing the tower spirit's murderous reminder, Euhauran stops his sorrowful roar. Strong, murderous intent slowly rises from his body. He stands up and walks to Zhou Mingyao. He carefully lifts her up. Mingyao, my wife, your husband is going to take off the red silk on your head and finish the last step of our wedding. Euhauran helped Lin Mingyao up with one hand and took off the red silk on her head. A happy smile hung on her pale face. The remaining tears in her eyes were telling of her grievances and unwillingness. Mingyao, my wife, you didn't mention the Lung family or Cold Cloud in your last wish, but I know how much you hate him. Yu Haoran wiped away some tears from Lin Mingyao's eyes and carried her on his back. He secured her with the dragon-snaring lasso and left the tower. Mingyao, now that you are my wife, Yu Haoran, I, as your husband, have a responsibility to avenge you. I have the ability to bury the entire Lung family with you. Chapter 1561. In the Qinling Mountains. Seeing the murderous aura around them materialize, and hearing the mutterings, the same thought flashed through the minds of the 5 great emperor-level beasts at the same time. The green serpent, who'd spoken to Yu Haoran earlier, took the initiative to ask, Human powerhouse, what are you planning to do? Murder. Extermination. Yu Haoran, who didn't stop, replied in a frosty voice. Human expert, you may be strong, so strong that even the 5 of us are no match for you. But the Lung clan has 3 terrifyingly powerful hidden experts. With Yu Haoran's confirmation, the 5 great Emperor Realm beasts' eyes lit up with delight. But the green serpent had a good impression of this human who was different from the beasts. It couldn't bear to see him die in vain, so it took the initiative to remind him. Given your current strength, I'm afraid you won't be able to escape death if you face the 3 top experts. One is Emperor Wu, another is Emperor Wu, and the other is a peak Emperor Wu. Since I dare to choose to wipe out the clan, I naturally have the means to do so. Stopping, Yu Haoran's expression was as cold as ever. He took the initiative to invite them. In order to thank you for witnessing my wedding with my wife, Mingyao, you can arrive at the Lung clan in half an hour. At that time, without the threat of Emperor Wu, everything in the Lung clan will belong to you. Without waiting for the 5 great emperors to reply, Yu Haoran continued to walk towards the Lung clan on the outskirts of the Qinling Mountains. Brother Green, do you think this human is lying to us? An early first-stage Great Emperor, Silver Moon Wolf, glared fiercely at Yu Haoran, its tone full of doubt. The other 3 beast emperors nodded in agreement. The Silver Moon Wolf nodded doubtfully. You guys, you've been sleeping for so long that you've almost lost your minds. The green serpent couldn't help but laugh bitterly when it saw its 4 companions' doubts about the human expert. As great emperors, our divine senses can extend to a range of 20,000 kilometers. Even if we don't move, we can still know what the Lung clan is doing. It won't be too late for us to decide whether to attack the Lung clan after the human expert kills the 3 Emperor Wu's powerful experts who are a threat to us. The 4 great emperors giggled sheepishly when they heard the green dragon's explanation. Then, they activated their great emperor-level consciousness and began to monitor the Lung clan's every move. In the central square of the Lung clan, Lung Qingtao, the great elder of the Lung clan, whose cultivation had reached the peak of peak grade 9 martial honorable realm and was preparing to break through to the martial emperor realm, asked with a puzzled expression as he looked at the over 7,000 experts above the martial sage realm in the central square of the mansion. Patriarch, may I know why you've gathered all the clansmen above the martial saint realm? Great elder, a strong enemy of the Lung clan will be here soon. Lung Cloud said worriedly as he looked into the depths of the Qinling Mountains. Who is it? Lung Qingtao asked with a murderous look. As the Lung clan that had been passed down since ancient times, although they had encountered the crisis of being exterminated several times in the process of passing down their bloodline, they had relied on the various heaven-defying methods of the divine beast phoenix in their ancestors' bloodline. In the end, they had successfully survived the crisis and had been passed down until now. Moreover, as the heavenly rules fell into a deep slumber, the environment gradually improved, and the sleeping Emperor Wu's ancestors began to awaken. The Lung clan gradually returned to its peak. Even the 4 great guardian clans didn't dare to offend the Lung clan when they were at their peak. Who would dare to provoke them and seek revenge? The champion of the 5 regions' hidden dragon fortress battle, Yu Haoran, who had advanced to the Emperor realm through alchemy and formations. According to Yu Haoran's character of seeking revenge for the slightest grievance, after seeing Zhou Mingyao's self-burning soul, he would definitely come here for bloody and crazy revenge. Sooner or later, he would encounter these clansmen in front of him. Therefore, Lung Yin doesn't hide anything and tells the truth. Clan leader, the Lung clan doesn't seem to have any grudges with Yu Haoran. Why would he seek revenge on the Lung clan? When Cold Cloud mentioned that the enemy was Yu Haoran, Lung Qingtao, who also knew Yu Haoran, couldn't help but frown and ask, "It's my fault." Since he wanted to use the entire Lung clan to seek revenge on Yu Haoran, Cold Cloud had already thought of a countermeasure when he used the escape talisman to escape back to the clan. Therefore, when he heard the Great Elder's question, Cold Cloud immediately put on a self-reproaching expression and said, "Great Elder, you should know that my daughter, Meng Yao, was once a disciple of the 100 Qi Gate before she activated the ancestral bloodline in her body." "I know." Lung Qingtao nodded and said with a trace of contempt in his eyes, "But didn't that bitch secretly escape from the clan because she disobeyed the clan's arrangements?" "Yes." Seeing that the Great Elder was so cooperative, Cold Cloud, who was secretly delighted, immediately pretended to be angry and said, "But what I didn't expect was that Yu Haoran was not only a disciple of the 100 Qi Gate, but also secretly had feelings for Meng Yao." Therefore, after the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking battle ended, he began to ask about Meng Yao's situation and whereabouts. "Clan leader, what did you do?" Lung Qingyuan quickly asked. "Great Elder, what else could I do? I could only tell the truth." Cold Cloud said with an innocent expression as he spread out his hands. Then, he continued with an angry expression on his face. "But what I didn't expect was that Yu Haoran actually relied on his slightly superior strength to force and humiliate me. Moreover, when I used the escape talisman to leave the hidden dragon fortress in the central region, he said that he would immediately go to the Lung clan in the Qinling mountain range and turn the entire Lung clan upside down to find Meng Yao. If he still couldn't find Meng Yao, then he would bury the entire Lung clan with Meng Yao. Damn it, bastard." After hearing Cold Cloud's eloquent narration, many top martial honorables of the Lung clan could not help but curse angrily. However, there was a white-haired elder at the scene who revealed a trace of suspicion in his eyes. When he thought of the monstrous martial talent Yu Haoran had displayed in the southern region and the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking, and the shocking achievements of Yu Haoran in the Alchemy Dao and the Formation Dao, the white-haired elder thought that it was better to make enemies than to resolve them. Just as he was about to question some of the doubtful points in Cold Cloud's narration, a furious roar suddenly came from outside the Lung clan's mansion. Chapter 1562. In the Qinling Mountains, in front of the Lung family's residence. Stepping on the void, carrying his beloved wife, Yu Haoran seemed to be walking slowly, but in reality, he only took less than a minute to reach the Lung family's residence. However, he did not act rashly for the time being. Instead, he waited for Thaling and his second clone to use the nimble chessboard to set up a deadly trap before he shouted at the Lung family's residence. "Cold Cloud, you're worse than a pig or a dog. Come out and die. Which blind fellow dares to cause trouble in the Lung family, which has been passed down since ancient times? I think you're tired of living." Just as Yu Haoran's voice fell, a similarly irascible rebuke rang out. Along with the irritable voice, a middle-aged man with a face full of sideburns and cultivation at the peak of the 7th grade venerable realm rushed out of the residence. The violent, murderous intent that had accumulated in Yu Haoran's heart exploded the moment he saw the Lung family's people. The moment the other party rushed out of the residence, the flash law that had merged with his body was smashed into a bloody mist by his palm technique. "Yu Haoran, how dare you kill the Lung family's hall master? Even if you escape to the ends of the earth, I, Cold Cloud, will definitely turn you into ashes." When Cold Cloud saw the hall master, who was at the peak of the 7th grade venerable realm, being smashed into a bloody mist by Yu Haoran, his heart was filled with boundless joy. However, his face was filled with sadness and anger as he shouted, When they heard that the young man who had killed the Hall Master was Yu Haoran, who had come to take revenge on the Lung family, more than 10 martial Venerable Realm experts immediately rushed out of the square and surrounded Yu Haoran, who was outside the residence. The Flash Law and the Speed Law, combined with Emperor Wu's physical strength, made Yu Haoran instantly become the Grim Reaper who reaped lives. The 13 top-notch martial venerables who had just rushed out of the mansion were all blasted into a bloody mist in just 1 second. Sizzle. Seeing the 13 peerless powerhouses at the peak of the martial honorable realm being slaughtered in just 1 second, the Lung Clan square was instantly filled with gasps of astonishment. The white-haired old man, who was also shocked, gradually turned his attention to the girl in a white tunic dress who was crawling on Yu Haoran's back. This was because he felt that the girl was familiar. At the same time, he was curious about why Yu Haoran was carrying a corpse. Hence, after using his eyes to stop Cold Cloud, who was trying to incite the clan members to continue fighting the white-haired old man, he flew to the edge of the residence and cupped his hands to salute. Lung Shengda, greet Pill Emperor Yu. He is a peak first-grade martial emperor. However, because his aura is not in harmony with the world, he can only barely display the strength of an early martial emperor. Yu Haoran said coldly as he raised his head to look at Lung Shengda, who was standing in the air inside the mansion, unwilling to take the risk of coming out. You must be the ancestor of the Lung family who has just awakened. Pill Emperor Yu, you have good eyesight. I am indeed the ancestor of the Lung family who has just awakened. Although Yu Haoran's cold and rude attitude made Lung Shengda slightly unhappy, not only could the other party see through his true cultivation and strength at a glance, but he could also sense that his aura was in harmony with the heaven and earth. This was enough to show that the other party had a terrifying strength that was not inferior to his own. Therefore, Lung Shengda forcefully suppressed the displeasure in his heart and continued to praise with a gentle attitude. Since you're the ancestor of the Lung family, then you have the right and ability to decide the life and death of the entire Lung family, right? Yu Haoran asked coldly as he temporarily retracted the strong, murderous aura emitting from his body. Although he had already decided to slaughter the entire Lung family, Yu Haoran did not want Cold Cloud to die so easily. He wanted to see Cold Cloud being abandoned by the Lung family step by step. When Cold Cloud was in despair, he wanted to directly extract his divine soul and expose it under the scorching sun for 9 days and 9 nights. That's right. Lung Shengda nodded and admitted. Yu Haoran reached out and gently lifted Lin Mingyao's chin. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he asked, "Then, please take a look at who she is and how she died." Lin Mingyao? Isn't that Lin Mingyao who has been missing for more than half a year? After seeing Yu Haoran gently lifting Lin Mingyao's chin and revealing her peerless appearance, exclamations immediately came from the square of the residence. When Lung Shengda heard his clansmen recognizing the girl's origin, a look of understanding flashed across his eyes. Then he mobilized a trace of divine thought to approach Lin Mingyao, wanting to check the cause of her death. However, considering Yu Haoran's terrifying strength and his murderous aura towards the Lung family, Lung Shengda's extended divine thought stopped as soon as it left the residence. Don't worry, I will never launch a sneak attack. Looking at the trace of divine thought that stopped 3 meters away from him, Yu Haoran calmly guaranteed. Thank you. After thanking him, Lung Shengda's divine thought successfully entered Lin Mingyao's body. Then, a strong, murderous aura surged from his body as he gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, "Burning soul and refining blood." That's right. While nodding to confirm the results of Lung Shengda's examination, Yu Haoran carefully let Lin Mingyao climb back onto his left shoulder. Then, he regained his indifferent expression and said, "Through a secret method, Mingyao's divine soul burned automatically. And then with the help of the high-temperature soul power formed when the divine soul burned, it accelerated the refining of the blood phoenix essence contained in her body." At this point, Yu Haoran first glanced at Cold Cloud, who was pretending to be calm, and then looked at Lung Shengda with a sneer. As the patriarch of the Lung family, Emperor Wu is a powerful expert at the peak of the first grade realm. You should be able to guess who the murderer who hurt Meng Yao is. After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, Lung Shengda's expression was as cold as frost as he questioned sternly, Patriarch, what exactly is going on? Perhaps it was because he was too eager to obtain the Blood Phoenix essence at that time, or perhaps it was because Yu Haoran's arrival was too sudden. Cold Cloud forgot to eliminate the residual aura of the secret method when he used the escape talisman to escape from the underground of the mountain peak. In the end, when Lung Shengda checked Lin Mingyao's sea of consciousness, he found a trace of residual clues. Patriarch, I don't understand what you mean. Cold Cloud, who immediately guessed the reason for the questioning and quickly came up with a plan to deal with it, asked Lung Shengda's frosty question with eyes full of doubts. Why is there a residual aura of your divine soul in Meng Yao's sea of consciousness? Lung Shengda further explained and questioned. This is very normal. Cold Cloud, who pretended that the doubts in his eyes had disappeared, said in a matter-of-fact tone. Chapter 1563. In the Qinling Mountains, in front of the Lung family mansion. In the eyes of the Lung family members, Cold Cloud was a leader with great foresight and the ability to devise strategies. He was a qualified leader who could lead the family to continuous development. At the same time, he was amiable, fair, and just. He respected the old and loved the young, so he was deeply respected and loved by the Lung clan. Otherwise, it would be impossible for all the Lung clan experts above the martial sage realm to gather at his command. Faced with ancestor Lung Shengda's questioning, the Lung family members' first reaction was disbelief. They suspected that he had made a mistake in his judgment. In the face of Cold Cloud's seemingly reasonable but actually flawed reasoning, the Lung family members nodded their heads and believed him without a doubt. Family leader, I'm not so old that I can't see clearly. I can still tell what the remnant soul power in Meng Yao's mind has done. Cold Cloud's sophistry and the Lung family members' ignorance made Lung Shengda angry. His face gradually darkened as he mocked. Ancestor, not only is Lung Yun the patriarch of the clan, he's also a clansman who possesses the direct bloodline. Could it be that you'd rather believe in the scheme of an enemy than believe in the innocence of your own clansman? In the face of Lung Shengda's mockery, Cold Cloud immediately pretended to be aggrieved and questioned him. At the same time, the more than 7,000 Lung family members in the mansion square also looked at him with suspicion and dissatisfaction. After all, Lung Shengda had been in a deep sleep for too long. Not only did he not have deep feelings for his family members, but the Lung family also didn't have any direct relatives. In the face of Lung Yun's sophistry and the doubts and dissatisfaction of his clansmen, Lung Shengda, an almighty expert in the martial emperor realm, was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. At this moment, he couldn't wait to use the demonic sex soul-searching technique to personally check Cold Cloud's memories. He wanted to see how many despicable and shameless things this person who always talked about righteousness and morality had done. At the same time, he wanted to let the Lung family members who trusted Cold Cloud see how the family leader they respected and trusted was a treacherous liar. Shengda, you're wrong. Just as Lung Shengda couldn't control the anger in his heart and was about to personally teach Cold Cloud a lesson and even search his memories, the voice of another Emperor Wu family member sounded in his mind. Seventh uncle, Lung Shengda hurriedly used the same method of divine thought transmission. Shengda, even if the secret technique of burning the soul and refining the blood was done by Lung Yun, no matter what, he is still the patriarch of our Lung clan. Not only does he represent the face of our Lung clan, he also symbolizes the unity of our Lung clan. Shengda, what you need to do at this time is not to question Lung Yun's actions, but to use your powerful strength to directly kill Yu Haoran, consolidate your position in the hearts of the clansmen, and raise your reputation in the clan. After all, you and I have been sleeping for too long. Our clansmen have long forgotten about us. Right now, we need the enemy's blood to demonstrate and seize the prestige and position that we deserve. Lung Xingda couldn't help but fall into deep thought when he heard the elder's suggestion. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that seventh uncle's suggestion was reasonable. The more he felt it was reasonable, the anger in his body gradually subsided. Yu Haoran raised his head and glanced at the depths of the Lung family's mansion. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He began to reactivate Emperor Wu's physical body, preparing to face his first strong opponent after his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Family leader, I thought about it carefully just now. I feel that your explanation is indeed reasonable. You have no reason to do such a cruel thing to your own daughter. After careful consideration, Lung Xingda finally decided to accept seventh uncle's suggestion. He cupped his hands and expressed his attitude to Cold Cloud again. Then, he turned around and looked at Yu Haoran coldly. It seems that you have been brainwashed by a more despicable and cold-blooded person than Cold Cloud. Yu Haoran couldn't help but sigh in disappointment when he saw Lung Xingda's murderous eyes. He sneered and ridiculed him indirectly while taking out the special glove magic tool he had obtained when he killed Gu Sheng, the last opponent in the Hidden Dragon ranking. Back then, the Pagoda Spirit had carefully examined the gloves, which were sometimes at the peak of the supreme level of the Exalt realm and sometimes infinitely close to the lower level of the Emperor realm. In the end, it concluded that it was an incomplete magic tool. After Thaling's modification and tempering, the special glove had not only successfully advanced to the low-grade Emperor realm, but also became more suitable for his ancestral witch body. Yu Haoran, using a fake corpse, not only did you kill 14 top venerable realm experts of the Lung family, but you also dared to insult the family leader who represents the face of the Lung family. Ignoring the low-grade Emperor realm glove that Yu Haoran took out, Lung Xingda's attitude quickly changed, and he scolded with a righteous attitude. As the ancestor of the Lung family in the Emperor Wu realm, how can I allow a junior like you to continue being so arrogant? Junior. When Lung Xingda flashed out of the Lung family's mansion, he directly hit Zhou Mengyao, who was behind Yu Haoran, with a palm technique beyond the heavenly level and a shout. He intended to destroy Zhou Mengyao first. Old thing, you're courting death. Originally, Yu Haoran wanted to test his true strength after breaking through by fighting with Lung Xingda, who was at the peak of the first-grade Emperor Wu realm. However, the fact that Lung Xingda dared to attack Lin Mingyao's corpse was tantamount to touching his reverse scale. This made him instantly feel the anger in his body burning. Sky-shattering fist. Without any hesitation, he directly overdrew a part of the ancestral witch's bloodline in exchange for a stronger strength, faster speed, and more powerful ancestral witch's inherited fist technique at the same time. Boom! Overdrawing a part of the ancestral witch's bloodline allowed the power of the sky-shattering fist to reach the peak of the first-grade Emperor Wu realm. However, limited by the fact that his strength had not fully recovered and his aura was repelled by the environment, Lung Xingda could only exert the strength of the first-grade Emperor Wu realm. Therefore, in the face of the tearing power of the first-grade Emperor Wu realm, the supreme venerable realm magic weapon on his body was quickly destroyed, and his flesh was instantly torn apart. The instant when his flesh and internal organs were torn apart, Lung Xingda could not help but howl in pain. Chapter 1564. In the Qinling Mountains, in front of the Lung family mansion, fist shattering the Milky Way, Yu Haoran, who knew that it would be difficult to kill his opponent with just one fist technique, continued to perform a more powerful ancestral witch's inherited fist technique when the tearing force formed by the fist technique had just destroyed the supreme venerable realm defensive weapon. Before his cultivation had broken through to the martial venerable realm, the fist shattering the Milky Way fist technique's power was enough to shatter the void and stir up spatial turbulence. Now that his cultivation had successfully broken through to the complete 10th grade martial venerable realm, and his physical body had advanced to the next level, under the enhancement of Emperor Wu's realm, just the aftershock formed by the fist technique's power caused ripples to form in the surrounding void. When the fist technique's power that contained a destructive aura quickly blasted Lung Xingda's sea of consciousness defense, formed by the power of laws that had merged with his physical body. The sea of consciousness defense was instantly shattered, and the fist technique's power took the opportunity to strangle Lung Xingda's soul. Lung Xingda, who had just woken up for 2 days and 2 nights, and had yet to truly display Emperor Wu's almighty power, had completely turned into a cold corpse. Xingda, just as Lung Xingda's soul in his sea of consciousness was completely strangled, a sorrowful roar suddenly came from the depths of the Lung family mansion. Accompanied by the sorrowful roar, a white-haired old man with the same white hair, whose aura was even more powerful than Lung Xingda's, rushed out like lightning and stopped the falling corpse in time. "Junior, how dare you hurt Xingda's physical body and strangle Xingda's soul? I'll definitely grind your bones to dust and imprison your soul in purgatory forever." Looking at the corpse that had lost half of its chest and internal organs, and feeling the completely destroyed sea of consciousness, the white-haired old man threatened Yu Haoran with a ferocious expression, fist shattering the firmament. Faced with the threat of the white-haired old man who was even more powerful, Yu Haoran's counterattack was very simple. He continued to use the overdrawn ancestral witch's bloodline to perform the ancestral witch's inherited fist technique. Phoenix saves the world. Just like how Yu Haoran carried Lin Mengyao on his back, the white-haired old man carried Lung Xingda's corpse in one hand and performed the ancestral witch's inherited bloodline martial technique with the other. The palm martial skill quickly condensed into a beautiful and dazzling divine phoenix. However, just as the divine phoenix raised its head and spread its beautiful wings, preparing to launch a fierce attack, the terrifying tearing force formed by the fist technique directly penetrated its body. Before it could truly display its terrifying strength, it was completely reduced to dancing energy that filled the sky. When the white-haired old man saw that his bloodline inheritance martial skill, which he had unleashed with all his might, was easily torn apart by the other party's fist technique, a trace of panic emerged in his heart. At the same time, he finally understood why Lung Xingda was killed so easily. In terms of cultivation, Emperor Wu, a white-haired elder at the early stage of level 2, had an overwhelming advantage. However, Yu Haoran's strength, which had yet to fully recover, and his aura, which was incompatible with the environment, made the white-haired old man realize that he was still far from being Yu Haoran's match. Therefore, the white-haired old man instructed Cold Cloud, who had a gloomy expression, when he uses Yuan Qi to send Lung Xingda's corpse to the mansion square. Patriarch, immediately bring the 7 elders who are at the peak of level 9 martial venerable realm to the family's forbidden area. Then, use your own phoenix blood to awaken Ancestor Fengqing. Ancestor, could it be that even you are not a match for Yu Haoran? After hearing the white-haired old man's instructions, Cold Cloud could not help but ask with a sudden change in expression. If I had 2 more days to recover my strength, I would be able to easily crush him to death with just 1 finger. However, I can't do that now. After hearing Cold Cloud's shocked questioning, the white-haired old man complained with an unwilling expression. However, when he felt the fluctuation of the fist technique behind him, he immediately urged Cold Cloud with an anxious expression. "Hurry up and awaken Ancestor Fengqing. I will hold this junior back for the time being." Giving the white-haired old man time to instruct Cold Cloud, in addition to the time needed to prepare 3 consecutive fist techniques, was also to buy more time for Thaling to kill the 3 ancestors of the Lung clan. Just as he had just finished accumulating the energy to perform the fist technique, he received the news of success from Thaling through his divine sense. Thus, he began to perform the fist technique with confidence. Fist suppressing the earth, fist breaking the firmament, fist shattering the Milky Way. Seeing Yu Haoran perform 3 powerful inherited fist techniques in one breath, the white-haired old man could not help but change his expression. At the same time, he hurriedly gritted his teeth and overdrew a portion of his qi and blood that he had painstakingly recovered. He also performed 3 bloodline inherited palm techniques in succession. Phoenix rescues the world. Phoenix dances the world. Phoenix cries the world. A divine phoenix condensed from Phoenix rescues the world quickly met the heavy mountain formed by the fist suppressing the earth fist technique. Boom! In just a second head-on collision, the divine phoenix was directly shattered by the heavy mountain. Then, the power of the attack did not decrease at all and continued to blast toward the white-haired old man. The divine phoenix condensed from Phoenix dances the world relied on its beautiful dance to form 9 flame energy shields to gradually resist the tearing power formed by the fist technique. A total of 9 flame energy shields only lasted for 2 seconds under the tearing power before they were all torn apart. The fist technique, whose power was only reduced by a quarter, continued to blast toward the white-haired old man. Caw! The divine phoenix condensed from Phoenix cries the world used the Phoenix cries martial technique that resounded through the sky to attack the fist technique that contained the terrifying power of shattering. The fist technique that contained the power of shattering the void shattered with irresistible force. After the continuous Phoenix cries completely ground the divine phoenix in a powder, the fist technique blasted toward the white-haired old man without any decrease in power. When the white-haired old man saw that he could not even buy time after using the 3 strongest fist techniques of his bloodline inheritance, endless fear emerged in his heart. A fierce cold light flashed in his eyes. After the fist technique had reduced the pressure of the heavy mountain, the white-haired old man directly rushed to the mansion square. He planned to use the lives of countless people to resist the 3 fist techniques that were enough to kill him so that he could hold on until Ancestor Feng Qing, who was in the middle of the 7th grade martial emperor realm, woke up and rushed over. Seeing that the ancestor planned to sacrifice their lives to resist the fist technique that even Emperor Wu was not a match for. More than 7,000 people of the Lung family in the square gritted their teeth and cursed the white-haired old man. At the same time, they gathered all their strength and desperately attacked the heavy mountain that was quickly smashing toward them. More than 7,000 experts of the martial sage realm joined forces, and the power of the attack was far beyond the limit that the heavy mountain could withstand. In the end, when it was about 100 meters away from the mansion square, it was blasted into pieces overnight. However, before the people in the square could cheer loudly, the invisible fist breaking the sky and fist breaking the Milky Way directly blasted into the crowd in the square. Chapter 1565. In the Qinling Mountains, in the Lung family's mansion, more than 7,000 members of the Lung family turned ghastly pale as they stared at the bloody mist in the square. Some of the weaker ones even flew up, tried to escape from the Lung family's mansion. However, just as they flew to the edge of the mansion, streaks of sharp sword chi that contained a destructive aura directly minced those Lung clan members who wanted to escape into powder. That's a powerful trap formation. The white-haired old man shouted at Yuhaoran with a gloomy face as he watched more than 100 members of the Lung family being killed by countless streaks of sword auras. Are you going to wipe out the Lung family today? 5 minutes ago, Meng Yao and I had a wedding ceremony in a tower deep in the Qinling Mountains. Yuhaoran straightens up Zhou Meng Yao on his back. He steps into the mansion of the Lung family and says with murderous intent. Meng Yao left in advance, but as her husband, I, Yuhaoran, swore that I would bury all 73,537 members of the Lung family with her so that she could leave safely. Yuhaoran, apart from the 7,000 martial saints here, the rest of the Lung family are mostly old, weak, sick, orphans, and widows. Do you really have the heart to kill them? An old man at the peak of the 7th rank of the martial saint realm, whose hair was white and was nearing the end of his life, shouted with a trembling body. That's right. Yuhaoran nodded without any change in his expression. Men, women, old, young, disabled, sick, and weak, kill them all. Yuhaoran, you're not human. You're an executioner from the dynasty, a devil from the north, a demon from hell. After receiving Yuhaoran's cold and merciless reply, The white-haired old man cursed and scolded with a sorrowful expression. You'll die a tragic death sooner or later. Old man, are you heartbroken to see your family and friends about to be killed? Facing the old man's rebuke and curse, Yuhaoran forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart and asked. Then, as a member of the Lung family, Lin Mingyao, have you ever thought about how Yuhaoran, felt when her soul was being refined and her blood drawn? Yuhaoran, Zhou Mingyao's death has nothing to do with our Lung family. Why do you want all the 70,000 people of our Lung family to die with her? The old man who had been beaten by Yuhaoran for many years interrogates him with grief and indignation. Old man, how do you know that this matter has nothing to do with the Lung family? Yuhaoran asked with a sneer. Yuhaoran, as long as Cold Cloud and the others use the method of burning their phoenix blood to awaken the 3 Emperor Wu powerhouses from their slumber, the 3 Emperor Wu realm fellows will be affected by my secret technique and die under the burning of their ancestors' bloodline. Yuhaoran had just questioned the old man when the tower spirit quickly returned to his sea of consciousness and reminded him. Thaling's timely return and reminder not only filled Yuhaoran with endless confidence in annihilating the Lung family, but also gave him enough means to expose everything that Cold Cloud had done to Mingyao. Evidence. Faced with Yuhaoran's shout, the old man stretched out his trembling hand and said, Yuhaoran, take out evidence that Mengyao's death is related to the Lung family, and this old man will believe you. Old man, if I can take out evidence, then what can you do for me? Yuhaoran, who did not immediately take out the evidence, continued to ask with a sneer. Yuhaoran, as long as you're able to produce solid evidence, then regardless of who killed Miss Mengyao, this old man will order the few elders of the punishment hall to make him pay with his life for Miss Mengyao's death. The old man who had been beaten to death lightly patted his chest and guaranteed. After sizing him up, Yuhaoran spoke in a doubtful tone. You're only a peak 7th grade martial saint, an old man with 1 foot in the grave. The 3 elders of the Lung family who have real power are my sons. The 2 great elders of the 3rd Tribulation Emperor Wu realm are my younger brothers, and the 7 Hall Masters who control 1/3 of the family's power are my grandsons. Faced with Yuhaoran's doubts, the old man who had been in charge of the dynasty arrogantly introduced himself and asked in return, Yuhaoran, do you think I have a right to decide the fate of the Lung family? Just as the old man's question fell, 3 incomparably miserable howls suddenly rang out from the depths of the Lung clan's mansion. Hearing the familiar screams, the white-haired old man of the Emperor Wu realm could not help but change his expression. He immediately flew into the air and planned to enter the mansion, but Cold Cloud and the other 8 people rushed out in panic. Patriarch, what exactly happened? What happened to the 3 ancestors? The white-haired old man appeared in front of Cold Cloud and asked with a gloomy expression, Screech, screech, screech. Just as Cold Cloud was about to explain, the miserable screams from the depths of the mansion stopped, followed by 3 phoenix cries that resounded through the sky. Accompanied by the cries that resounded through the sky, 3 giant phoenixes that were more than 1,000 meters long soared into the sky from the depths of the mansion, burning soul and refining blood. Seeing the 3 giant phoenixes burning with white flames, the white-haired old man cried out in horror. Thaling, thank you. Seeing Thaling use the same method to make the 3 strongest ancestors of the Lung family suffer the same fate as Mengyao, Yuhaoran, who was grateful, thanked Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Yuhaoran, I have already left a spiritual thought imprint in the bodies of the 3 fellows. Ignoring Yuhaoran's thanks, Thaling reminded him excitedly. At that time, not only will they suffer the same pain as Mengyao, but they will also use their painful deaths to give you the hope of advancing your divine soul and origin energy to Emperor Wu's realm, the essence blood of the divine phoenix. Without much guessing, Yuhaoran knew what the hope of assisting his origin energy and soul power to advance to Emperor Wu's realm was. That's right. Nodding his head in confirmation, Thaling explained further excitedly. Yuhaoran, Those three fellows are not only almighty experts at the advanced level of Emperor Wu, but the divine phoenix bloodline in their bodies has also been activated to almost 70%. The essence blood of the divine phoenix, extracted from burning soul and refining blood, is enough to assist your origin energy and soul power to advance to the peak of Emperor Wu's 4th stage, or even to the early stage of Emperor Wu's 5th stage. The benefits of the essence blood of the divine phoenix soothed Yu Haoran's sorrowful mood. Chapter 1566. In the Qinling Mountains, inside the Lung family's mansion, Yu Haoran asked with a solemn expression as he lowered his head to look at the white-haired old man. "Old man, are you a man of your word?" "Yu Haoran, if this old man punishes young Miss Meng Yao's murderer, will you let my Lung clan off?" The old man, who was in the prime of his life, asked with a solemn expression. "Of course." Yu Haoran nodded. He had learned that the 5 beast emperors were gathering all the beasts in the Qinling Mountains after the 3 most powerful ancestors of the Lung family were killed. "If I'm satisfied with the way the Lung family punishes the murderer, then I, Yu Haoran, promise you that I won't hurt the other members of the Lung family." "All right. Then this old man will also guarantee you that as long as you can produce irrefutable evidence, then according to the Lung clan's rules, the culprit who killed young Miss Meng Yao will have his cultivation crippled, and then receive the severe punishment of being hacked into pieces." The white-haired old man made his own promise after receiving Yu Haoran's promise. "This is a memory crystal. It's part of Meng Yao's memory after she burned her soul." Yu Haoran took the crystal from Thaling's hand. Grief surged in his heart again. He introduced the crystal in a low voice. Although he had been arguing with the white-haired old man that he had nothing to do with what happened to the 3 ancestors, Cold Cloud had been paying attention to Yu Haoran and the old man who was talking to Yu Haoran. Cold Cloud's face turned pale when he saw Yu Haoran take out Meng Yao's memory crystal. He secretly took out a talisman of the highest level. "Old man, the evidence you want is in this memory crystal." After tossing the memory crystal to the old man, Yu Haoran continued to soar several dozen meters into the air. Then he sat down cross-legged and waited for the old man to pass the final judgment on Lung Yun's fate. "Lung Jin, Lung Hua, Lung Mu, come here." Clenching the memory crystal in his hand, the old man turned around and shouted at the 3 middle-aged experts standing behind Cold Cloud. "Father." Hearing the greeting of the old man, the 3 middle-aged powerhouses in different clothes hurriedly walked in front of the white-haired old man after excusing themselves. This memory crystal records the process of Miss Meng Yao's death. Raising the memory crystal in his hand, the elderly man ordered a middle-aged man in a golden robe who had a rather old-fashioned temperament. "Lung Jin, since you're an elder of the family's disciplinary hall, you'll be the one to unlock the memory in this crystal." "Yes, father." After receiving the memory crystal from the old man, Lung Jin immediately mobilized his origin energy, intending to activate the memory crystal. However, Cold Cloud, whose expression had changed, hurriedly stopped him. "Third Elder, stop. Clan head, what's wrong?" Lung Jin stopped channeling his elemental energy into the memory crystal and asked in confusion. Cold Cloud, who had appeared in front of Lung Jin in a flash, reminded him with a concerned expression. "Third Elder, not only is Yu Haoran a treacherous and cunning person, but he's also a powerful array master at the Array Emperor realm. I'm worried that this memory crystal might contain a fatal array." Taking a deep breath, Lung Yun pretended to be awe-inspiring and continued to speak. "Third Elder, not only am I slightly stronger than you, but I'm also proficient in arrays. Why don't you let me unlock the memory in this memory crystal?" After explaining and reminding Lung Jin, Cold Cloud did not give Lung Jin any chance to reject and directly snatched the memory crystal. Subsequently, he pretended to use his divine thought to examine it carefully while secretly using a special method to destroy the energy contained in the memory crystal. 3 seconds later, following a crisp sound, the memory crystal in Cold Cloud's hand shattered into a pile of crystal chips. Aya! Looking at the broken crystal chips in his hand, Cold Cloud pretended to be surprised and said, "Third Elder, I'm really sorry. I didn't control my divine thought well and caused this memory crystal to shatter because it couldn't withstand the power of my divine thought." This, looking at the fragments of the memory crystal in Cold Cloud's hand, the old-fashioned Lung Jean suddenly did not know what to say. He could only turn around and look at his father. The old man, who had a rather ugly expression, glared fiercely at his overly old-fashioned son. Then, he raised his head to look at Yu Haoran in the air and said with a slightly embarrassed expression, "Yu Haoran, something happened to that memory crystal. I wonder if you have any other evidence?" "Old man, even a fool can see that Cold Cloud wanted to destroy the memory crystal, but you just stood by and did not stop him." Yu Haoran did not hide the contempt in his eyes, and his tone was full of disdain and sarcasm. "Old man, this is the promise you gave me. Or rather, you don't care about the fate of more than 70,000 people in the Lung family at all. Mistake, all of this is just a mistake." After hearing Yu Haoran's threat, the old man hurriedly waved his hand and explained. In fact, when the patriarch Lung Shengda questioned why Cold Cloud wanted to use the secret method of soul burning and blood refining on Lin Mengyao, the old man vaguely suspected that the murderer was very likely Cold Cloud. Just now, Cold Cloud's eagerness to destroy the memory crystal further confirmed his suspicions. Regardless of his suspicions, Cold Cloud was still the patriarch of the Lung family. Not only did he represent the Lung family's prestige and cohesion, but he also controlled more than half of the Lung family's strength. Therefore, the old man changed his mind at the last minute and wanted to borrow Cold Cloud's hands to destroy the evidence, then find a few scapegoats to deal with it. However, he never expected that Yu Haoran would be so astute as to see through Cold Cloud's secret method of destroying the memory crystal. There's an ancient saying that one should not have a person who harms others, but one should always be on guard against others. Seeing that the other party's selfishness was attributed to a loss of judgment, Yu Haoran gave up on the idea of letting Cold Cloud be judged by the Lung family. Slowly standing up and taking out the memory crystal that had been replaced earlier, Yu Haoran mocked in disdain as he used his primary energy to activate the memory crystal in his hand. "Old man, it's a good thing that I had a backup plan and did not give you the real memory crystal. Otherwise, I'm afraid that Mingyao's injustice would never be revealed to the world." As he channeled his primary energy into the memory crystal, images quickly appeared in the memory crystal. Among them, there was the scene of how Cold Cloud hid Mingyao's blood phoenix physique from her secret method, how Cold Cloud aggravated the conflict between Mengyao and the Lung family, how he secretly captured Mengyao alive, and finally the scene of him using the secret method of soul burning and blood refining. It was Yu Haoran's first time seeing the events recorded in these jumping images. This made him unable to control the anger in his heart that he had been suppressing all this time, and he roared at the pale-faced Cold Cloud. Chapter 1567. In the Qinling Mountains, within the Lung clan's mansion, Yu Haoran's furious roar caused the 7,000 or so Lung clan members in the mansion square to quickly recover from their shock. Recalling the scene displayed by the memory crystal, their gazes towards Cold Cloud were filled with disbelief and deep disgust. "Clan leader, what else do you have to say now?" Yu Haoran took the initiative to present irrefutable evidence to let the old man know that he had to quickly make a decision. Otherwise, the Lung clan that had lost 3 of their strongest ancestors would very likely encounter a truly unavoidable calamity of clan annihilation today. Anything could be faked, but the memory crystal condensed by the soul could not be faked. Therefore, Cold Cloud, who knew that he could not prove it, simply did not continue to hide it when faced with the old man's questioning. "That's right. I did kill Mengyao with my own hands. My goal was to obtain a drop of blood phoenix, essence blood in her body." Cold Cloud raised his head to look at the thousands of clansmen in the square and finally stopped at the old man who had questioned him earlier. There was a trace of madness in his eyes as he roared. "Elder Chun, do you think I'm doing this just for myself? Since the ancient times, Our Lung clan has encountered a total of 9 clan annihilation crises. Although we have successfully survived with the special secret technique of our ancestors' bloodline, the clan's strength has been weakened to the extreme. Now, the clan only has 5 Emperor Wu ancestors who are in a state of hibernation. Not to mention the 4 great guardian clans that have martial god ancestors, even the Zhou and Shang clans that have more than 20 Emperor Wu ancestors and demigod-level experts watching over them. Our Lung clan is not just a little bit inferior. Cold Cloud turned his head to look at the white-haired old man who was Emperor Wu, his eyes filled with anticipation as he asked, "I'm sure Ancestor Junming knows best just how heaven-defying the effects of the Blood Phoenix essence blood on the cultivation and strength of our Lung clan members are." "That's right, I know." In the face of Cold Cloud's interrogation, Lung Junming nodded to confirm and explained to the people present in detail. With the clan chief's talent and potential, a single drop of the Blood Phoenix's blood essence would allow him to break through to the Martial Emperor realm in 10 days, reach the peak of rank 9 Martial Emperor realm in 20 years, and become a demigod in 50 years. Ancestor Junming is right. If I, Cold Cloud, can become a demigod within 50 years, I'll be able to lead the Lung family to become a first-rate family in the Tianxian continent. After receiving confirmation from Cold Cloud, Lung Junming spoke in a selfless manner. "At that time, I'll be able to obtain countless resources with my powerful cultivation as a demigod. Then, I'll use these resources to help more of my clansmen become martial saints and Emperor Wu, or even become false gods." After that, he lifted his head and looked at Lin Mengyao, who was behind Yu Haoran. 2 streams of tears rolled down from the corner of his eyes as he continued speaking with a sorrowful expression. "I, Cold Cloud, am not a cold-blooded person. How can I be so heartless as to kill my own flesh and blood? Everything that I'm doing now is for the Lung family. I'm doing this to restore the Lung family's supreme glory from ancient times." After listening to Cold Cloud's eloquent explanation, the disgust in the clansmen's eyes was gradually replaced by gratitude. They even had the urge to pledge their loyalty to Lung Junming. However, at this moment, there was the sound of clapping in mid-air. Clap, clap, clap. Everyone says that I, Yu Haoran, am a person who is eloquent and can talk the living to death and bring the dead back to life. However, after listening to what you just said, I'm ashamed of my inferiority. Yu Haoran stopped clapping and put away the memory crystal. "Yu Haoran, what do you mean?" One of the clansmen who was most affected by Cold Cloud's words immediately rebuked angrily after hearing Yu Haoran's seemingly praising, but actually mocking words. Mengyao, after successfully activating the inheritance of the Blood Phoenix bloodline in her body, her talent and potential have directly advanced to the level of a top demon. She is not inferior to me, Yu Haoran. Ignoring the other party's rebuke, Yu Haoran turned his head and looked at Lin Mengyao, who was lying on his shoulder as if she was sleeping. He introduced her with a gentle expression. According to the speculation of a demigod senior, Mengyao, who has the inheritance of the Blood Phoenix bloodline, can break through the Emperor Wu realm in half a year, advance to the peak of the Emperor Wu realm in 5 years, and have a 70% chance of entering the martial god realm in 20 years. All of this is only because of the inheritance of the Blood Phoenix bloodline in her body. If she can receive the support of the hidden dragon fortune, as well as the help of a rare genius in alchemy like me, she will have the hope of entering the martial god realm in 10 years. Retracting his gentle gaze from Lin Mengyao, Yu Haoran looked at the over 7,000 people in the square and finally stopped on Cold Cloud. He then asked with a cold smile, "Cold Cloud, with Mengyao's personality of treating family as important as her own life, if the Lung clan is led by her, I'm afraid it won't just become a first-rate clan in the Tianxian continent. With the special relationship between Mengyao and I, Yu Haoran, the Lung clan's clansmen won't just break through the martial venerable realm and Emperor Wu realm." Faced with Yu Haoran's continuous questioning, Cold Cloud couldn't help but take 3 steps back. At the same time, a thoughtful and suspicious look appeared in the eyes of the Lung clan's clansmen. "Cold Cloud, no matter how extravagant your words are, You can't hide your selfish actions. Your human nature is worse than a pig or a dog. You will die without a doubt. Ignoring the change in attitude of the Lung clan's clansmen, Yu Haoran made a conclusion about Cold Cloud's character and destiny. Yu Haoran, even if everything you said just now is true, so what? Cold Cloud, who is already powerless to refute, was too lazy to continue refuting. He also didn't want to argue for the sake of his clansmen who would never have any interaction with him in the future. At the same time, he said proudly as he felt the energy of the escape talisman that had been successfully activated. Anyway, I've already obtained the blood essence of the blood phoenix in Lin Mingyao's body. Moreover, I can use the heaven-ranked escape talisman to leave your central region. Even if you want to kill me, you won't have a chance. When he felt the teleportation power formed by the escape talisman begin to pull his body away, Cold Cloud threatened even more proudly. Yu Haoran, you have the blood essence of the blood phoenix to upgrade your ancestral bloodline, as well as the storage device left behind by the three ancestors of the Emperor Wu realm. I have enough confidence to successfully advance to the peak of the 9th grade Emperor Wu realm within 5 to 10 years. Chapter 1568. In the Qinling Mountains, in the Lung family mansion, looking at the teleportation power formed by the top-grade escape talisman, which caused Cold Cloud's body to become more and more illusory, Yu Haoran did not show any signs of panic. At the same time, in the face of Cold Cloud's arrogant threat, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and a contemptuous smile appeared in his eyes. Dong! Just as Cold Cloud used the escape talisman that surpassed the heaven rank to disappear from his original spot, a loud crashing sound immediately came from the east side of the mansion. What's going on? After the loud crashing sound, Cold Cloud's painful howl, as well as his frightened and confused voice, rang out. Lung Jin, Lung Hua, Lung Mu, capture Cold Cloud alive immediately and bring him back to the square as soon as possible. Yu Haoran had set up a deadly trap array around the mansion in advance. Other than Cold Cloud and the other 7 people who had gone to wake up the 3 ancestors, the remaining 7,000+ members of the Lung family in the square all knew about it. Although they knew that with Yu Haoran's cultivation in the Formation Emperor realm, the trapping formation that he set up would definitely be extremely powerful. The Lung clan members did not expect that the trapping formation would actually be able to seal a divine-level escape talisman that surpassed the heaven level. This also completely extinguished the Lung clan members' hopes of escaping. If they wanted to protect the 70,000+ members of the Lung family and let the bloodline of the Lung family continue to be passed down, they had to think of a way to resolve the hatred and resentment in Yu Haoran's heart. Therefore, the old man who had a trace of regret in his heart immediately ordered his 3 sons. Yes, father. The memory crystal provided ironclad evidence that Cold Cloud had exposed his selfish nature at the last moment. It was enough to prove that he was the eternal sinner of the Lung family and an unforgivable madman. Thus, after hearing his father's order, the Punishment Hall's elder Lung Jin immediately led his 2 younger brothers, who were also the Punishment Hall's Hall Master and Vice Hall Master, to quickly rush to the eastern side of the mansion to capture Lung Yun alive. Fouling, do we need to open a gap in the trap array? Yu Haoran, who had been paying attention to the movements of the exotic beasts in the Qinling Mountains, couldn't help but suggest this to Fouling excitedly when he saw 5 Emperor-level exotic beasts gathering close to 200,000 powerful exotic beasts rushing towards the Lung family's mansion. No need. The pagoda spirit, who was examining the 3 drops of divine phoenix blood essence, replied without looking up. It's a one-way formation. And not only does it not affect the exotic beasts that are coming, it can't affect the exotic beasts attacking. It can even prevent those exotic beasts with other Yulultimas. After hearing the tower spirit's explanation, Yu Haoran nodded in agreement. After that, he set aside a small portion of his divine sense to continue observing the movements of the exotic beasts. The rest of his attention was focused on Lung Yun, who was captured alive by Lung Jin and the other 2. Although Lung Yun's strength was slightly higher than Lung Jin and the other two, the terrifying teleportation power formed by the escape talisman and the violent impact and rebound force formed when it collided with the hard barrier formed by the trapping formation instantly caused him to suffer very serious injuries. At the same time, his inability to escape from the Lung family's mansion was a huge blow to his mind. He couldn't accept it and stood there in a daze. In the end, he was easily captured by Lung Jin and the other two. Cold Cloud, the evidence of you killing Miss Mengyao is conclusive. Do you admit to your crimes and plead guilty? Seeing Lung Yun being pressed back to the square, the old man who had been beaten by the emperor suddenly took a step forward and asked with a fierce expression. In response to this, Lung Yun, whose eyes were lifeless and mind was in a trance, only raised his head to look at the old man in a daze. He did not say anything. Admitting to it is the same as admitting to it. The old man was in a hurry to punish Cold Cloud severely to resolve the violence in Yu Haoran's heart and prevent the Lung family from being exterminated. Thus, the old man arbitrarily decided that Cold Cloud was guilty. Afterwards, the old man looked around at the clansmen in the plaza. His gaze returned to Cold Cloud, and he coldly announced his verdict. According to the rules of our Lung family, those who harm clansmen will have their cultivation crippled and thrown into the death row. Those who harm clansmen of the direct line of descent will have their cultivation crippled and be cut into pieces. At this point, the old man looked at Lung Jin and ordered with a cold expression. Lung Jin, as the elder of the disciplinary hall, I'll leave the punishment to you. Yes, father. Although Lung Jin's temperament was old-fashioned, he wasn't someone who didn't understand human relationships. His father was in such a hurry to judge Lung Yun's crimes, and even used the crippling of his cultivation to deal with him, because he hoped to use this method to protect the inheritance of the Lung clan. Therefore, although he was unwilling to personally punish Cold Cloud, who was deeply loved by the Lung family, in order to cooperate with his father's plan, he nodded without hesitation. Then he destroyed Cold Cloud's dantian and sealed Cold Cloud's consciousness. Seeing that Lung Jin crippled Cold Cloud's cultivation, the old man cupped his hands and gestured to Yu Haoran. Elixir Emperor Yu, what do you think of the result of this old man's punishment? Yu Haoran asked with a mocking look in his eyes as he looked at the old man with a slight smile. So what if you're satisfied? So what if you're not? If Elixir Emperor Yu is not satisfied, you can state your request, and this old man will consider it. As if he did not hear the sarcasm in Yu Haoran's tone, the old man cupped his hands and said with a smile, If you are satisfied, Elixir Emperor Yu, can you keep your promise and remove the trap array that is surrounding the Lung family's residence? Huh. Hearing the old man's shameless request, Yu Haoran could not help but laugh wildly. After the wild laughter stopped, Yu Haoran suddenly scolded with a gloomy face. Old man, when Lung Yun destroyed the memory crystal, you didn't remember the promise between us. When Lung Yun activated the escape talisman and planned to escape from the Lung clan's residence, you also didn't remember the promise between us. Now, when you are in a desperate situation, don't you feel that it is too late for you to remember our promise? Elixir Emperor Yu, I have already explained. Cold Cloud destroyed the memory crystal by mistake. As for why I did not stop Cold Cloud from using the escape talisman in time, do you think that I, an old man who is only at the peak of the 7th grade martial saint, have the ability to stop a peerless expert who is at the peak of the 9th grade martial revered realm? After hearing Yu Haoran's question, the old man immediately had a bad feeling in his heart and hurriedly explained, Old fellow, no matter how extravagant your explanation is, you will not be able to hide your selfish ambitions. At the same time, you can forget about changing the fate of your Lung clan being annihilated today. Ignoring the old man's explanation, Yu Haoran roared with a murderous aura. Elixir Emperor Yu, don't be angry. Please listen to this old man. Chapter 1569. In the Qinling Mountains, in the Lung family mansion. The white-haired Emperor Wu appeared in front of the old man who had been beaten by the emperor, shook his head to stop him. Yu Chen, don't say any more. The narrow-minded Yu Haoran will never let the entire Lung family go. Lung Yuchen looked at the gloomy ancestor in front of him, then looked up at the murderous Yuhaoran. Although he was unwilling to give up, he also knew that the ancestor was right. He was the first to break the promise, and now he had no right to ask the other party to fulfill the promise. But when he thought of the more than 73,000 members of the Lung family, he thought of the youths who had just started to learn martial arts and were ready to achieve great things. He thought of the old brothers who were about the same age as him and were enjoying the last 100 years of happiness in their lives. Lung Yuchen thought of the young men and women who had just gotten married and were still thinking of having sex. He felt that he would never give up just like that. Even if he had to give up his dignity and the few years he had left, he had to fight for a chance to live for his family. Therefore, Lung Yuchen planned to kneel down and beg Yuhaoran for mercy, begging him to let the innocent members of the Lung family go after punishing the culprit. However, the white-haired old man, who had guessed his thoughts in advance, stopped him in time and said with strong confidence, "Yuchen, the Lung family has experienced a total of 9 extermination crises since the ancient times. The danger level of each danger was far greater than this one, but in the end, we succeeded in surviving each crisis. This time is no exception. Ancestor, Yuhaoran is too strong, and his hatred for the Lung family is too strong. I'm worried that the family this time." Lung Yuchen, who was far less confident than the white-haired old man, reminded with a worried expression. But before he could finish, he was interrupted by the white-haired old man again. "Yuchen, Yuhaoran is indeed very strong. Without the protection of the 3 ancestors, we have no power to fight back. But don't forget that there's only one person with the surname Yu. Even if we stand here motionlessly and let him slaughter us, I'm afraid that more than 70,000 people will be able to exhaust him half to death. Moreover, we won't surrender without a fight." At this point, the white-haired old man raised his head and looked at Yuhaoran, who was emitting a fierce, murderous aura. His eyes flashed with a frightening cold light as he reminded him. "Moreover, too much slaughter will cause inner demons to grow. Too much slaughter of weak existences is even more against the natural order of reincarnation. It is very easy to incur the wrath of the heavens and send down a world-destroying lightning tribulation. Old ancestor, could it be that you want to sacrifice the old, weak, sick, and disabled in the family to attract the world-destroying lightning tribulation?" After a shocking thought flashed through his mind, Lung Yuchen's face was as pale as paper, and he asked in disbelief. "That's right." Nodding heavily, the white-haired old man said with a sinister expression, "Just now, I've secretly informed the family's children under the age of 10, ordinary women with cultivations below the martial master realm, and the elders who have lost their cultivations and are suffering from illnesses to come over. When the time comes, let's see if Yuhaoran dares to slaughter these old, weak, sick, and disabled in a frenzy." Looking at Yuhaoran, who was looking at him, the white-haired old man continued with a slightly complacent expression. "If Yuhaoran doesn't dare to make a move, then he can only leave with Cold Cloud, whose cultivation has been crippled. If Yuhaoran dares to make a move, the slaughter of more than 10,000 old, weak, sick, and disabled will definitely cause the heavens to send down a world-destroying lightning tribulation to avenge the tragic deaths of our cold-blooded family members." Although the old ancestor's method was cruel and crazy, it was still a way to help the family through this crisis. Therefore, no matter how much he couldn't bear it in his heart, Lung Yuchen ultimately chose to lower his head and acquiesce. "Yuhaoran, it's a good thing you thought of using strange beasts to exterminate the family. Otherwise, today's matter would have been troublesome," said Lung Yuchen, who had sensed the changes in the Lung family's residence with his divine sense, with lingering fear. Thowing, using the old, weak, sick, and disabled as a lure, using the wrath of the heavens as a taboo, and using the world-destroying lightning tribulation as punishment. I've seen this method more than once in my previous life. How can I not be prepared for this?" Yuhaoran said with a cold smile as he scanned the Lung family's residence with his divine sense and saw more than 10,000 old, weak, sick, and disabled being led by some martial kings and martial emperors to the square of the residence. In fact, in his previous life, not only had he seen the method of using the old, weak, sick, and disabled to deal with the crisis of extermination, he had also used a highly toxic poison to slaughter a family that had a deep grudge against him. When more than 1,000 ordinary people with no cultivation had died from the poison, the heavenly ways rules began to appear. When more than 2,000 ordinary people had died from the poison, the heavens began to become angry. Dark clouds began to gather, and thunder began to rumble. He was so frightened that he had no choice but to immediately stop his revenge. Therefore, Yuhauran was not only well aware of the severe regret brought about by casually slaughtering the old, weak, sick, and disabled, but he also had a way to deal with it. He could either prolong the massacre to avoid attracting the attention of the heavens, or he could divert the attention of the heavens by diverting the attention of the heavens. Yuhauran, if you don't have a shred of humanity, then kill the men, women, and children of the Lung family. When more than 10,000 old, weak, sick, and disabled were brought into the square of the residence, the white-haired old man, who seemed to have gained the confidence to back himself up, immediately provoked him arrogantly. "Old man, do you think that I, Yuhauran, can't do anything to you by using such a crazy method?" Yuhauran asked with a cold smile when he saw the huge beast horde that numbered over 200,000 led by the 5 emperor-level exotic beasts were less than 100 kilometers away from the Lung clan. It would take them at most 20 seconds to reach the Lung clan. Yuhauran gradually withdrew the sharp killing intent emitting from his body and asked with a cold smile, "Yuhauran, come at me then." The white-haired old man, who didn't believe that Yuhauran, who had a limitless future, would dare to kill more than 10,000 old, weak, sick, and disabled people, provoked him even more arrogantly. "Ayo, woo." Just as the white-haired old man's arrogant voice fell, countless exotic beasts roared excitedly outside the Lung family's residence. Lone Fury Bear, Ironback Armor, Tsungyuan Divine Eagle, Tsungyue, Silver Wolf, Blue Cyan Tiger, Lung Jiexiong of the Lung family, who was proficient in beast taming, quickly determined the origin of the exotic beasts through the continuous roars of the exotic beasts. As Lung Jiexiong mentioned the origin of each exotic beast, the faces of the Lung family members turned paler. The dozen or so powerful exotic beasts Lung Jiexiong mentioned were unique to the depths of the Qinling mountain range. Chapter 1570. In the Qinling mountain range, in the Lung clan's mansion, the Lung clan had occupied the Qinling mountain range for millions of years. The entire Qinling mountain range was their backyard. Not only were there countless natural treasures at their disposal, the exotic beasts in the depths of the mountain range were also there for them to raise their cultivation and strength, increase their battle experience, and amuse themselves. In the past, with the protection of their ancestors, the top-tier exotic beasts in the depths of the mountain range did not dare to voice their anger. Other than silently enduring the humiliation from the Lung clan, they also had to suppress the low-tier exotic beasts from taking revenge on the Lung clan. Now that they had lost the protection of their 3 strongest ancestors, and Yuhauran, the butcher, had sealed the door with his formation, how could the Lung clan not know the reason and consequences of the exotic beasts attacking the Lung clan in the Qinling mountain range? "Yuhauran, you're crazy. How dare you form an alliance with the emperors in the depths of the Qinling mountain range?" Dragon roar, tiger roar, wolf howl, eagle cry, spider hiss. The white-haired old man scolded in horror when he heard the familiar roars of the 5 emperor-level exotic beasts in the depths of the Qinling mountains. "Old man, with what your Lung clan has done to the countless exotic beasts in the Qinling mountain range, do you still need me to form an alliance with them after learning that you've lost your strongest protection?" Yuhauran asked back with a cold smile when he heard the white-haired old man's accusation. The white-haired old man was at a loss for words when he heard Yuhauran question. He didn't know how to answer. There was no such thing as the wrath of heaven when it came to killing between different clans. The white-haired old man, who knew that the Lung clan was truly in danger of being wiped out, quickly thought of a solution. "You, Howren, I'm willing to give you the secret to becoming a martial god in exchange. Please don't form an alliance with the exotic beasts in the Qinling mountain range to attack my Lung clan." Not interested. Yu Howren rejected him without even considering it. "Yu Howren, are you really planning to fight to the death with our Lung clan?" Yu Howren's rejection made the white-haired old man feel a hint of brutality in his heart, and he gradually fell into a state of madness. "Old man, although I'm not interested in the secret to becoming a martial god, it doesn't mean I'll form an alliance with the exotic beasts in the Qinling mountain range. I'll sit on the sideline and watch the tigers fight." Yu Howren Lung clan members' clansmen were in the clouds. He took out the dragon-snaring lasso, then carefully placed Lin Mingyao's group's ants. Then he carefully placed Lin's hands. If the exotic beasts of the Qinling mountain range win, with the endless grudge between your Lung clan and the exotic beasts of the Qinling mountain range, I'm afraid I won't have to do anything. Of the clans of Heavenses. Although Yu Howren's idea of sitting on the mountain and watching the tigers fight was very infuriating, it was very good news for the Lung family. At least the family's accumulated resources could be put to good use. Therefore, the white-haired old man, whose fighting spirit had been reignited, ordered the crowd. All clansmen above the martial venerable realm form the tripartite formation with 3 people and the Big Dipper formation with 7 people to kill all exotic beasts above the martial venerable realm. All clansmen above the martial saint realm form the 28 constellation formation with 28 people to kill all exotic beasts above the martial saint realm. Therefore, clansmen above the martial king realm and martial emperor realm form the 36 Heavenly Dipper formation with 36 people and the 72 Earthly Fiend formation with 72 people to kill all the remaining exotic beasts. Therefore, clansmen above the Martial Master Realm and Martial Grandmaster Realm immediately protect the old, weak, sick, and disabled in the clan and retreat to the clan's forbidden area. Yu Howren, who was sitting cross-legged on the rainbow auspicious cloud, couldn't help but nod when he heard the white-haired old man's meticulous arrangements. He couldn't help but sigh at the power of the inherited clan. If it wasn't for the fact that he was a powerful array master whose array Dao had reached the array emperor realm, and knew that using the array Dao to form a joint attack was not only useless, but could also become a flaw, the Lung clan wouldn't be so helpless. 7 elders, use the Big Dipper sword of the emperor realm and burn the ancestral divine phoenix bloodline in your bodies. Follow me to kill the 5 martial emperor realm exotic beasts. Seeing his clansmen following his orders in an orderly manner, the white-haired old man, who had gradually calmed down, waved his hand toward the depths of the mansion. Then 7 mid-grade martial emperor realm swords, which exuded rich star energy, shot out from the depths of the mansion. The 7 mid-grade martial emperor realm swords fell into the hands of the 7 peak martial venerable realm elders. The white-haired old man also took out a high-grade martial emperor realm sword, which exuded rich star energy, and gave the 7 elders an order. Yes, ancestor. The 7 peak martial venerable realm elders held the mid-grade martial emperor realm swords tightly in their hands and answered respectfully. Just as the white-haired old man finished his order, more than 100 martial venerable realm exotic beasts with huge wings rushed into the Lung clan's mansion. Kill! The 5 teams in the Big Dipper formation roared. As they soared into the sky, they directly surrounded the 100 or so flying exotic beasts in the formation and began tearing them apart with blood and flesh splattering everywhere. Fortunately, fouling increased the power of the nimble chessboard's formation in time, giving the exotic beasts and the Lung clan enough space to kill each other. Kill! Seeing the thousands of cyan moon silver wolves following the flying exotic beasts into the mansion, the martial venerables and martial sages of the Lung clan roared and rushed forward in formation. As more and more exotic beasts and the Lung clan clashed, The fierce, murderous aura and violent energy fluctuations stirred up the void above the Qinling Mountains and attracted the attention of many people in the Tianshan continent. The exotic beasts in the Qinling Mountains dare to attack the Lung clan? Since the Qinling Mountains belong to the Lung clan, many experts who noticed the abnormality and rushed over only dared to stay at the edge of the mountains and use their divine thoughts to observe the Lung clan's mansion. Wait, isn't the young man on the rainbow auspicious cloud Yu Haoran, the champion of the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking? Why is he in the Lung clan? A peak martial venerable realm expert who had watched the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking asked in surprise when he saw the familiar figure on the rainbow auspicious cloud with his divine thoughts. Maybe it has something to do with the corpse beside him. Since the Bailey clan's mountain range was not far from the Qinling Mountains, Bailey Pingtsuan was the first to arrive at the edge of the Qinling Mountains and noticed the situation in the Lung clan's mansion. He saw the girl leaning on Yu Haoran's shoulder, who had already lost her breath. Chapter 1571. Outside the Qinling Mountains. Brother Pingtsuan, something's wrong. A First Tribulation quasi-emperor powerhouse from the Bailey noble clan asked doubtfully after he scanned most of the Lung clan's residents with his spiritual sense. I remember that there should be several Emperor Wu's level 7 and level 8 ancestors in the Lung family's forbidden grounds. Why haven't they come out to save the situation and suppress the exotic beasts? Maybe the Lung family's ancestors have been eliminated by Elixir Emperor Yu in advance, which led to the countless exotic beasts in the Qinling Mountains to come out and suppress the Lung family. Bailey Pington, who had long since noticed the abnormality of the Lung clan, made a shocking conjecture based on the methods Yu Haoran displayed in the 5 regions' hidden dragon rankings and his extremely daring character. The dozens of top martial venerables and Emperor Wu Almighties who came later could not help but gasp. Although there were more than 200,000 exotic beasts in the Qinling Mountains, facing more than 30,000 Lung family members who participated in the battle, not only did they not have the upper hand, but they were also constantly injured and killed by the Lung family members using the formation. In the hands of 7 peerless experts who were at the peak of the 9th grade martial revered realm and the Big Dipper formation, the middle grade martial emperor realm sword that exuded a rich star energy successfully blocked the 5 emperor realm exotic beasts that had yet to fully recover their strength. At the same time, the white-haired elder who was hiding in the Big Dipper formation used the upper Emperor Realm swords from time to time to sneak and harass the Emperor Realm exotic beasts who wanted to break out of the formation. The 5 Emperor Realm exotic beasts were in danger. This is a little troublesome. Looking at the exotic beasts in the Qinling Mountains who were at a disadvantage, Yu Haoran could not help but frown and say to Thaling. Originally, he thought that with the 5 Emperor Realm exotic beasts and more than 200,000 King Realm exotic beasts, it would be easy to annihilate the Lung family. That was why he had been suppressing his anger and did not kill the Lung family members. However, from the looks of it now, not only had he underestimated the Lung family's foundation, he had also overestimated the strength of the exotic beasts in the Qinling Mountains. Yu Haoran, you're underestimating the strength of those 5 Emperor-level exotic beasts. Thaling reminded him with a smile after hearing Yu Haoran's worry. After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and calmed his restless emotions. Then, he carefully observed the 5 Emperor-level exotic beasts trapped by the Big Dipper formation and gradually discovered something amiss. Among the 5 Emperor-level beasts, the strongest ones, the Green Flood Dragon and the Silver Moon Wolf, not only did they take the initiative to attack the least, but they also quickly absorbed the rich astral energy gathered by the Big Dipper formation. He finally understood why the 5 Emperor-class exotic beasts, who clearly had an absolute advantage in terms of strength, were at a complete disadvantage. After successfully using a sneak attack to cut off one of the 8-legged black spider's legs, the white-haired old man didn't even have time to celebrate when the Silver Moon Wolf, who was being protected by the Ironback Goshawk, suddenly howled at the sky. Along with the deafening howl, a terrifying aura erupted from the Silver Moon Wolf, almost destroying the Big Dipper formation set up by the 7 elders. You guys protect Brother Green Flood Dragon first. Leave that old man who likes to sneak attack to me. After the howl, the Silver Moon Wolf instructed the 3 Emperor-level exotic beasts, the ironback goshawk, the 8-legged black spider, and the green-striped blue tiger. After that, the Silver Moon Ash Wolf relied on its 30% recovered strength to withstand a dozen attacks from the sword. It successfully caught up to the white-haired old man who was hiding in the formation. The wolf and the man began to tear each other apart. Although he had the support of a high-grade Emperor-level sword, the white-haired old man quickly fell into a disadvantage after the first exchange with a Silver Moon Wolf that had recovered 30% of its strength. After 3 exchanges, the Silver Moon Wolf's sharp claws, which were infused with the power of law, almost dug out the white-haired old man's heart. This also made the white-haired old man realize that he had to use a special method. After using all his strength to display a bloodline sword technique to temporarily force the Silver Moon Wolf to retreat, the white-haired old man rushed directly to Cold Cloud, who was ignored in the mansion square. This was because he needed to use the Blood Phoenix essence in Cold Cloud's hands to help him recover Emperor Wu's early-stage 2nd-grade strength in the shortest time possible. As long as he could fully recover his strength, he could easily kill Yu Haoran, let alone the 5 Emperor-level exotic beasts. However, when the white-haired old man was still 30 meters away from Lung Yun, a blue-clothed young man suddenly appeared beside Lung Yun, forcing him to abruptly stop his charging body. Looking up at the white-haired old man in the air, Yu Haoran reminded him coldly, "I said that Cold Cloud is mine. No one is allowed to touch him." Damn it! Looking at Yu Haoran, who was standing beside Cold Cloud, the white-haired old man was furious. Although he wanted to use the high-grade Emperor-level sword in his hand to cut Yu Haoran in half, he knew that in the current situation, it was best not to provoke Yu Haoran. Otherwise, the cold-blooded clan would not have a chance to turn the tables. After cursing inwardly, the white-haired old man looked down at the dead clansman. A trace of viciousness flashed in his eyes. He directly cut his finger and forced out a drop of blood. Then, he quickly made a seal with his 10 fingers. Every time the white-haired old man made a seal and merged it with the blood of the hundreds of dead clansmen on the square would rise into the air and merge with that drop of blood. After all 9 seals had merged with the drop of blood that had gathered the blood of more than 3,000 clansmen had turned into a miniature lake. Phoenix blood recondenses, divine beast appears. Looking at the lake of blood, the white-haired old man ignored the sadness in his heart. He took a deep breath and threw the high-grade Emperor-level sword in his hand directly into the lake of blood. Then, he continued to make seals with his 10 fingers. Screech! As the lake of blood continued to churn, a beautiful divine phoenix that was almost 1,000 meters tall flew out gracefully from the lake of blood. Then, it let out a cry to the sky. Following the cry, the clansmen of the Lung clan who were in the midst of battle suddenly felt the blood of their ancestors start to burn in their bodies. The burning of their bloodline brought them endless power. Not only did it increase the fighting spirit of the Lung clan members, but it also increased the speed of their slaughter. It also allowed the 7 elders who were at a disadvantage against the Silver Wolf to instantly regain their advantage. The high-grade Emperor-level sword and the divine phoenix formed by the blood of countless clansmen flapped its beautiful wings and arrived in front of the Big Dipper formation set up by the 7 elders in an instant. Then, she opened her mouth and spat out a transparent flame. It directly burned the 8-legged black spider, who was in the early 1st-grade Emperor level. It temporarily lost the ability to continue fighting. Chapter 1572. In the Qinling Mountains, above the Lung family mansion. Roar! When the divine phoenix raised its head for the 3rd time and was about to spit out transparent flames to attack the weakest ironback goshawk, a deafening roar was heard. Along with the deafening roar, a green dragon's saliva with rich vitality successfully blocked the transparent flames that were aimed at the ironback goshawk. Big brother, Have you recovered your strength? Seeing the green dragon's saliva block the transparent flames in time, the silver moon wolf immediately turned around and asked the green dragon excitedly. The green flood dragon nodded at the silver moon wolf and ironback goshawk with a gratified smile on his face. But when it saw the 7 elders who set up the Big Dipper formation and the divine phoenix formed by the blood of the Lung family members, its smile was replaced by coldness. Wolf, goshawk, go take care of Black Pearl and Blue Tiger. Leave the rest to me. The green dragon turned to the silver moon wolf and the ironback goshawk. Big brother, be careful. After reminding them, the silver moon wolf guarded the 8-legged black spider, who was the most injured, while the ironback goshawk guarded the indigo tiger. Roar! After letting out a deafening roar, the green dragon quickly reverted to its original form. As a second-stage Great Emperor, the green dragon had evolved from an ordinary green dragon to a powerful being like a flood dragon. When it reverted to its original form, the green dragon's body reached a terrifying height of more than 20,000 meters. Looking at the green dragon's body that was as large as a mountain, the white-haired old man's face gradually turned ugly. At this moment, even if he used the blood essence of the blood phoenix to recover all his strength, he was no match for the green dragon who had also recovered all his strength. The divine phoenix body that was formed using the blood of the Lung clan was basically his last trump card. Therefore, knowing that the Lung family could not escape the fate of being exterminated, the white-haired old man had to start planning for himself. While everyone's attention was on the green dragon, the white-haired old man secretly took a blood-red pill. Then, a trace of ruthlessness appeared in his eyes. After reverting to its original form, the green dragon suddenly whipped its huge tail and slammed hard on a weak point of the Big Dipper formation. Boom! Puff! An intense explosion rang out as the Big Dipper array was instantly destroyed. The 7-peak Grade 9 Martial Honorable Elders were also sent flying back dozens of meters as they vomited blood. Their auras fell by a lot in an instant. Screech! The divine phoenix formed from the blood of the Lung family clansmen raised its head and let out a loud cry when it saw the gigantic dragon tail that had shattered the Big Dipper formation. Then, it spat out a white flame that was even more transparent and contained even more intense energy. Boom! After the green dragon tail and the white flames collided violently, the dragon tail suddenly emitted a dense green light, which quickly extinguished the white flames. The dragon tail's power was not reduced at all as it directly smashed the godly phoenix into pieces. Then, a high-grade Great Emperor sword flew out from the broken body of the divine phoenix. It radiated with rich astral energy and was a high-grade Great Emperor sword. The high-grade Great Emperor sword was sent flying towards Howren, who was carrying Cold Cloud back to the rainbow clouds. How could Howren give up on the treasure that was already in his hands? The giant hand made of soul force reached out to grab the high-grade Emperor-grade sword flying toward it. Boy, stop. That's Brother Green Dragon's spoils of war. But at this moment, the Silver Moon Wolf suddenly shouted. Howren ignored it and took back the sword. After sending it back to Victor's space, he looked up at the green dragon that was flying towards the white-haired old man. Goshawk, take care of Black Pearl for me. Seeing Howren on the rainbow clouds, the Silver Moon Wolf saw that not only did he ignore its warning, but he also dared to take back the high-grade Great Emperor sword that was supposed to belong to them. The Silver Moon Wolf was instantly enraged and ordered the ironback goshawk to take care of it. Then, it howled into the sky and charged towards the rainbow clouds. Now fully recovered, the green dragon no longer had any trace of respect for Howren. It didn't step forward to stop the Silver Moon Wolf from killing Howren. Howren, I'm going to use a possession technique. The Silver Moon Wolf was a peak first-rank Great Emperor. Now that it had recovered 30% of its strength, it was as strong as Emperor Wu's mid-first-rank Great Emperor. It was far stronger than Howren, who had only just entered Emperor Wu's realm. Therefore, the Pagoda Spirit didn't even need to wait for Howren's request. It immediately began to use the possession technique. If he used a third of his ancestral shaman bloodline and used the final move of his ancestral shaman fist technique, he might be able to defeat the Silver Moon Wolf. However, considering that they are evenly matched in power, he can't take care of Zhou Mingyao's body and Lung Yun, whose personal ability has been destroyed. Therefore, when the Tower Spirit actively performs the possession skill to help him, he chooses to accept it silently. Not good. When Bailey Pingtsuan saw that the Silver Moon Wolf was planning to deal with Yu Haoran, he knew something was wrong. He hurriedly turned to a young man who looked to be about 17 or 18 years old, but gave off an aura that seemed to have changed the course of the world. Ancestor Qingtong, Pill Emperor Yu, is the key to whether the clan's war god can successfully awaken. I beg you to save his life. Pingtsuan, although I can deal with the Silver Moon Wolf with my current strength, I'm no match for the Green Dragon, who has fully recovered and can use the strength of a peak second-rank Great Emperor. In the face of Bailey Pingtsuan's request, although Bailey Qingtong did not flatly refuse, he also indirectly indicated that he would not help through the difference in strength between him and the Green Dragon. AI. Bailey Pingtsuan couldn't help but sign the face of the ancestor's refusal. He knew very well that not everyone in the Bailey clan would be willing to awaken the tyrannical and unreasonable war god ancestor. Kid, this old wolf didn't like you when we were in the depths of the Qinling Mountains. How dare you steal Boss Green Dragon's spoils of war? This old wolf won't let you off so easily. Seeing that the Green Dragon didn't stop him from attacking Yu Haoran, the Silver Moon Wolf roared excitedly. Yu Haoran, that's enough. Just when the Silver Moon Wolf was about 100 meters away from the rainbow auspicious clouds, the pagoda spirit in his sea of consciousness reminded him. Prosperity ends. Yu Haoran continued to sit cross-legged after receiving the Thaling's reminder. He raised his arm and called out softly to the Silver Moon Wolf that was about to reach him. A special energy that transcended space and time instantly entered the Silver Moon Wolf's body. The Silver Moon Wolf instantly felt a large amount of life force drain away and immediately stopped charging. Chapter 1573. In the Qinling Mountains, above the Lung family's mansion. Flourishing Curtain was a secret technique created by Thaling based on the laws of time and space contained in the Victor. It was similar to a law martial technique. Every time he used Flourishing Curtain's law martial skill, he would need to expend a portion of the Tower Spirit's soul force. At the same time, he would need to use a portion of the Tower Spirit's time and space law energy. Now that Thaling's soul had recovered to the level of a First Tribulation demigod, and the Victor's injuries had recovered by almost 1%, the power of Flourishing Curtain's law martial technique had increased by at least 100-fold. More importantly, the laws of life and death and the laws of 4 seasons that Yu Haoran had comprehended happened to be complementary to the laws of time and space. This could not only increase his understanding of Flourishing Curtain's law martial technique, but it could also increase the power of Flourishing Curtain's law martial technique. Therefore, even though the Silver Moon Wolf had recovered to the mid-first rank of the Great Emperor realm, and even though it had comprehended the laws of slaughter, it was useless against the Flourishing Curtain's law martial skill. The laws of slaughter were useless against the Flourishing Curtain's law. Feeling the rapid loss of life in its body, seeing its dark gray fur gradually turning white, and seeing its claws and teeth gradually losing their luster, the Silver Moon Wolf felt the arrival of death. As an Emperor-level exotic beast with a bloodline of the wolf god in its body, the Silver Moon Wolf not only had a lifespan of more than 50,000 years, but it also had the potential and hope to reach the level of a god. Therefore, although the Silver Moon Wolf seemed to be extremely fierce and fearless, it was actually more afraid of death than the other 4 Emperor-level exotic beasts. It was more afraid of death and the arrival of death. Human powerhouse, I was blind to offend you. I was too greedy and wanted to steal the high-grade Emperor-level sword. Now, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me this time. Every second, the strange energy formed by Flourishing Curtain's law martial technique would take away 500 years of its life. This made the Silver Moon Wolf, who was afraid of death, completely abandon its dignity as an emperor-level exotic beast and began to beg bitterly. The silver moon wolf's pleading and the rapid loss of its life force not only stunned the green dragon and the other emperor-level exotic beasts, but also the hundreds of top experts who came to watch the battle at the edge of the Qinling mountain range. Their hearts were filled with shock, carefully sensing the frequency and speed of the silver moon wolf's life force loss. A look of fear flashed across the eyes of the dozens of Emperor Wu powerhouses who had just woken up. After all, even the silver moon wolf, which had a lifespan of nearly 50,000 years, could not withstand the power of the flourishing curtain's law martial technique to deprive one's life force, let alone Emperor Wu almighty powerhouses who had less than 10,000 years of lifespan. Some of the top experts who had watched the 5 regions' hidden dragon rankings thought of the law of life and death that Yu Haoran had created through comprehending the law of life and death, which also had the power to strip away life force. This made them believe that the flourishing curtain that Yu Haoran had just performed must be a law martial technique that he had created himself. Thinking of Yu Haoran's self-created law martial technique that could deprive the silver moon wolf of its enormous life force, the hundreds of top experts present knew that Yu Haoran, who had just become a top expert in the Tianxin continent, now had the status and influence of the patriarchs of the 4 great guardian families and the top families of inheritance. He had the ability to participate and make decisions in the Tianxin continent. Sigh. Bailey Pingsuan couldn't help but sigh as he looked at Yu Haoran, who was sitting cross-legged on the 7-colored auspicious cloud with a calm expression, and then at Ancestor Qing Tong, who had a gloomy face. Because he knew very well that the elder Qing Tong's selfishness had caused the Bailey family to miss the best opportunity to become allies and friends with Yu Haoran. Ignoring the silver moon wolf's pleading, Yu Haoran looked calmly at the green dragon, who was rushing toward him quickly and exuding an even more terrifying aura. Sun, moon, and stars. The green dragon, who had rushed to the front of the silver moon wolf, did not attack Yu Haoran, who was sitting cross-legged on the colorful cloud. Instead, it immediately mobilized the power of law that had fused into its body and began to perform its self-created law martial technique. Yu Haoran, the power of law of the sun, moon, and stars also belong to the auxiliary law of time and space. With your current cultivation and strength, performing the flourishing curtain law martial technique is not the green dragon's match for the time being. Thaling's expression changed slightly when he saw that the power of law that the green dragon revealed when performing the law martial technique was the sun, moon, and stars. He reminded Yu Haoran, "Thaling, don't worry. Even if the silver moon wolf eventually dies under the flourishing curtain law martial technique, the green dragon will never attack me." Yu Haoran signaled Thaling not to be nervous and said confidently, "Why?" Thaling asked in confusion. Yu Haoran didn't explain why the other party didn't attack. He signaled the tower genie to continue watching. Although the green Jiao dragon used the power of the 4 laws of the sun, the moon, and the stars to create a powerful spatial seal, the seal of the laws of the sun, moon, and stars was useless against the silver moon wolf's life force that was disappearing out of nowhere. The green dragon's expression changed slightly. It turned to look at Yu Haoran, who was sitting cross-legged on the colorful cloud with a calm expression. A hint of fear flashed in its huge eyes. As an ordinary green dragon that had evolved and advanced step by step, it had become an emperor-level green dragon. The green dragon's familiarity and understanding of the power of law had far surpassed that of ordinary Emperor Wu Almighty's. To be able to break through the space seal formed by the 4 laws of the sun, moon, and stars, one could only use auxiliary law power that also contained the law of space. Furthermore, one's understanding and control of the law far surpassed its own. At the same time, the flourishing curtain law martial technique that could deprive an emperor-level beast of its immense life force was probably related to the auxiliary law power of the law of time. The law of time and the law of space were a pair of powerful laws that complemented each other. They could be combined to form a law of time that could defy the heavens and change fate. Therefore, the green dragon, who was filled with fear, immediately shrunk its huge body and withdrew its terrifying aura. It then tried its best to maintain a gentle tone as it asked, "Young man, what do you need me to do for you to let the silver moon wolf go?" "Senior Green Dragon, you don't need to do anything." Yu Howren shook his head at the green dragon. He looked at the silver moon wolf that was getting older, and its aura had fallen to the venerable realm. His voice was as cold as frost. Chapter 1574. In the Qinling Mountains, above the Lung family mansion. After hearing Yu Howren's unquestionable attitude, the silver moon wolf, which only had 5,000 years left, had a desolate look in its eyes. The ironback goshawk, the eight-legged black pearl, and the indigo-striped tiger, who had also arrived in front of the silver moon wolf, had a strong, murderous look in their eyes. They wanted to fight Yu Howren to the death, but the green dragon stopped them with a fierce look. Then, the green dragon's attitude remained gentle as it requested. "Human powerhouse, the silver moon wolf took the initiative to offend you. It deserved to end up like this. However, can you spare the silver moon wolf's divine soul on account that we are witnesses to your wedding with that lady?" After a living being's cultivation reached the martial sage realm, the divine soul that was tainted with the power of law would have the ability to survive independently and be reborn through possession. This was also why it was necessary to destroy the opponent's divine soul when fighting for a living being above the martial sage realm. The purpose was to prevent the opponent's divine soul from being reborn through possession. As an emperor-level silver moon wolf, its divine soul retained nearly a third of its original body strength, as well as the power of law of slaughter that it had comprehended. If the divine soul was reborn through possession, it would be able to recover its cultivation to the peak of the first-grade martial emperor realm in 3 to 5 years. With the silver moon wolf's vengeful personality, it would definitely take revenge on its close friends and family. Therefore, in the face of the green dragon's request, Yu Howren could not help but ask with a cold smile, "Senior Green Dragon, destroying the body that has activated 70% of its ancestors' bloodline is equivalent to cutting off the silver moon wolf's hope of becoming a deity in the future. If it were you, what choice would you make?" I know. Although Yu Howren didn't reject it outright, the green flood dragon knew that Yu Howren was going to reject it. Turning its head to look at the silver moon wolf that had less than 3,000 years of life left, the green dragon's eyes were filled with sadness and self-blame. "Silver moon wolf, I'm sorry. I'm useless. I can't eradicate the power of law martial technique that deprived you of your vitality, nor can I avenge you. Big brother, don't blame yourself. This is the price of my arrogance and ignorance. To be able to grow from an ordinary green snake to an emperor-level flood dragon, risks and opportunities were important, but being careful was the only way to save one's life. After getting along and knowing each other for nearly 10,000 years, the silver moon ash wolf knew the green dragon's conservative and cautious character. It also understood that it did not want to risk its life to offend Yu Howren. Therefore, the silver moon wolf did not resent the green flood dragon for giving up and apologizing. "Lone wolf, although I don't have the ability to save your life, I can use the law martial skills of the sun, moon, and stars to preserve the essence of your bloodline, and then inject it into the descendants of your bloodline, so that they can continue your glory and have the hope of becoming the wolf god in the future." Sensing that the silver moon wolf's life force was decreasing, the green flood dragon was eager to compensate it. It put away its self-blame and quickly expressed its thoughts. "Big brother, thank you." The loss of life force was not only a reduction in lifespan, but also the energy contained in the divine soul and physical body. Under such circumstances, the green flood dragon, who used the law martial skills of the sun, moon, and stars, had to take a great risk in order to preserve the ancestral bloodline essence in its physical body. How could the selfish silver moon ash wolf not be moved by the green flood dragon's selflessness? After getting the silver moon ash wolf's consent, the green flood dragon immediately ordered the ironback goshawk and the other exotic beasts, "Goshawk, black pearl, blue tiger, protect me. Big brother, The one with the surname Yu? The ironback goshawk reminded him worriedly when it saw Yu Howren staring at the silver moon ash wolf and the green flood dragon. Don't worry, any of the human experts here might make a move. Only the magnanimous Yu Howren would never launch a sneak attack from behind. The green flood dragon said in a tone that showed its trust in Yu Howren's character in the face of the ironback goshawk's worry. Yu Howren only smiled faintly in response and did not express any opinions. Good chance. Seeing the green flood dragon using the law of the sun, moon, and stars to seal the silver moon ash wolf's bloodline essence, the Lung clan's ancestor, who was floating above the mansion's plaza, was delighted. Using the Lung clan's special pills to preserve the chance of a comeback in the future, the Lung clan's ancestor began to look for an opportunity to severely injure or even kill the green flood dragon. As long as he could severely injure or kill the green flood dragon, the 7-peak 9th grade Martial Honored Realm Elders would be able to kill the 3 Emperor-level exotic beasts that had yet to recover their strength with the help of the mid-grade Emperor-level swords and the Big Dipper formation. The threat of the exotic beasts would be smoothly resolved. As for Yu Howren, who had vowed to slaughter the entire Lung clan, as long as the Lung clan's tens of thousands of old, weak, and sick people were still alive, he would definitely not dare to start a massacre. The Lung clan would also be able to survive this crisis. After overdrawing all of his yuan qi and soul power, as well as burning thousands of years of his life, the Lung clan's ancestor charged directly at the green flood dragon like lightning. Damn it! Seeing the Lung clan's ancestor charging at them, intending to self-destruct to perish together with the green flood dragon, who performed a nomological martial technique, the green flood dragon and the other 3 exotic beasts were extremely frightened. Even Yu Howren could not help but curse as his expression changed. This was because the Lung clan's ancestor, who had burned his life to return to his peak state, the range and power of his self-destruction would be enough to destroy all living things within a radius of 10,000 miles. Even with the 4 Emperor-level exotic beasts, the green flood dragon and the ironback goshawk, blocking the power of his self-destruction, the green flood dragon was very close to the rainbow, auspicious clouds. It was very likely that he would be affected by the power of the self-destruction. Without any hesitation, he directly put Lin Mingyao's corpse, the cold cloud, and the rainbow auspicious clouds back into the victor. Yu Howren activated the strongest defense of the ancestral witch's physical body as he quickly retreated. Goshawk, Black Pearl, Blue Tiger, return to your original forms immediately and burn 2/3 of your life to block the power of the Lung clan's ancestors' self-destruction with all your might. The green flood dragon hurriedly instructed the ironback goshawk and the other 2 exotic beasts as it continuously spat out 3rd-grade blood essence to increase the speed of the execution of the nomological power. At the moment of life and death, regardless of whether it was the sinister and cunning 8-legged Black Pearl, the arrogant ironback goshawk, or the heavily injured azure-striped Blue Tiger, they all obeyed the green flood dragon's orders without any hesitation. As they quickly returned to their original forms, they began to burn a large amount of their life in exchange for a stronger defense. Chapter 1575. In the Qinling Mountains, above the Lung family mansion, Yu Howren's face was still gloomy as he stopped retreating. Even if the green dragon and the ironback goshawk could successfully withstand the self-destruction of the Lung family's patriarch, they would probably lose the ability to continue fighting for a short period of time in the face of the terrifying shockwave caused by the self-destruction of an advanced rank, one expert like Emperor Wu. Then, his plan to use the beast to annihilate the Lung family would fail. By then, how would he be able to fulfill his promise to Lin Mengyao when faced with the threat of more than 10,000 old, weak, and sick people from the Lung family? Was he really going to provoke the will of the heavens and suffer the baptism of the apocalyptic thunder tribulation? However, the Lung family's patriarch, who had rushed to the front of the green dragon and the other beasts, did not give Yu Howren too much time to be frustrated. Without any hesitation, He directly detonated the origin energy in his dantian and the spirit in his sea of consciousness. The moment the Lung family's patriarch self-destructed, the dazzling light caused everyone to close their eyes. However, Yuhaorin and the Thaling in his sea of consciousness were not affected at all. Boom! After the dazzling light, a deafening roar resounded above the Lung family mansion. Accompanied by the deafening roar, the entire Qinling Mountains shook violently. More than two-thirds of the Lung family mansion's buildings collapsed, but there were no casualties. This was because the members of the Lung family were either fighting with the beasts or hiding in the forbidden area of the mansion that was protected by the formation. When the deafening roar disappeared, the members of the Lung family, countless beasts, and hundreds of top experts in the outer area of the Qinling Mountains immediately looked at the location where the Lung family's patriarch self-destructed. Their eyes were filled with shock. This was because at the location where the patriarch of the Lung clan had self-detonated, other than the green flood dragon, the silver moon wolf that was nearing the end of its life, the ironback goshawk that had returned to its original form, the eight-legged black pearl, and the green-striped blue tiger had all disappeared without a trace. No, seeing the four brothers who had grown up and fought with him for more than 10,000 years, not only died tragically under the power of the Lung family's patriarch's self-destruction, but also ended up without a corpse, the green dragon, who was filled with endless grief, roared toward the sky. Members of the Lung clan, all of you deserve to die. After roaring in grief and indignation, the green flood dragon entered a frenzied state. It began to slaughter the Lung clan members without caring about the loss of its lifespan, flesh, demonic power, and soul power. Even with the help of a Middle Emperor Realm Sword and the Big Dipper formation, the 7-peak Grade 9 martial honorables of the Lung clan could only hold on for 5 seconds before they were smashed in a meat paste by the green dragon's tail or devoured by it. After that, the green flood dragon, which had gradually awakened, began to hunt down the top martial honorables of the Lung clan. This also allowed the martial honorable realm beast to kill the low-ranking martial artists of the Lung clan in a frenzy. Yuhaorin couldn't help but let out a soft sigh as he looked at the green flood dragon and hundreds of thousands of strange beasts that were crazily slaughtering the members of the Lung clan. That was because he knew very well that after losing the 7 elders who could defend against emperor-level exotic beasts, the Lung family, which had been passed down from ancient times, had officially entered the countdown to its destruction when faced with the cunning and sinister emperor-level green flood dragon and the hundreds of thousands of exotic beasts that were filled with hatred. After sighing, Yuhaorin walked into the depths of the Lung clan's mansion to search for the hidden scriptures pavilion and the treasure vault. He had killed the ancestor of the Emperor Wu realm with 2 fist techniques and killed the silver moon wolf of the first stage of the martial honorable realm with 1 technique. Yuhaorin's strength had left an impression on the members of the Lung clan and the exotic beasts of the Qinling mountain range that he was undefeatable. Therefore, when Yuhaorin walked into the depths of the mansion, both the members of the Lung clan and the exotic beasts of the Qinling mountain range immediately stopped and took the initiative to make way for him. It was only after Yuhaorin had left that they began to fight again. Yuhaorin, no matter how powerful the self-destruction of an almighty Grade 1 martial emperor is, when faced with 3 exotic beasts of the same level who burned 10,000 years of their lifespan, it's impossible for them to not even leave behind a corpse. Thaling in his sea of consciousness suddenly asked when Yuhaorin reached the depths of the mansion and used his divine telekinesis to search for the hidden scriptures pavilion and the treasure vault. Thaling, before leaving the Qinling mountain range, you mustn't expose the auras of the ironback goshawk, the 8-legged black pearl, and the blue-striped blue tiger in front of the green dragon. Yuhaorin's divine telekinesis paused for a moment before he continued to search for the hidden scriptures pavilion and the treasure vault with his divine telekinesis. Yuhaorin, you already know. Thaling asked in disbelief after hearing Yuhaorin's warning. Pagoda Spirit, when the patriarch of the Lung clan self-destructed, you did not have the secret technique to remove the possession technique, so I was not affected by the dazzling light at all. I only saw what you did. After successfully finding the location of the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion, Howard explained with a chuckle as he walked toward the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion. Just like what Thowling had asked at the beginning, the ironback goshawk, the eight-legged black pearl, and the blue-striped blue void that had burned tens of thousands of years of their lifespan were completely capable of withstanding the power of the ancestor of the Lung clan's self-destruction. However, when they had just successfully withstood the power of the self-destruction and were at their weakest state, Thowling used his powerful divine telekinesis and his true victor to suppress the 3 Emperor-level exotic beasts, as well as the Silver Moon Wolf's blood essence that was sealed by the Green Dragon using the laws of the sun, moon, and stars. He instantly absorbed and suppressed them into the victor. I see. After hearing Howard's explanation, Thowling nodded in realization. However, he couldn't help but ask as doubts emerged in his heart. He couldn't help but ask, Howard, don't you want to know why I took the risk to suppress the 3 Emperor-level exotic beasts? Yes, Howard replied briefly. Then why didn't you take the initiative to ask me? Thowling asked, puzzled. Thowling, you and I have known each other for more than 3 years. I know your personality very well. If you wanted to tell me, you would have taken the initiative to explain yourself even if I didn't ask. Howard replied with a smile as he followed the guidance of his divine telekinesis and came to a plaque in front of a 5-story pavilion in the backyard of the mansion. If you don't want to tell me, then even if I took the initiative to ask, it would have been in vain. After that, he directly performed the ancestral witch's inherited palm technique and forcefully destroyed the protective formation of the Sutra Pavilion. He then stepped into the Sutra Pavilion. After hearing Howard's explanation, Thowling knew that he was holding a grudge against him for deliberately hiding householder Qing Lian's revenge some time ago. Therefore, Thowling, who felt that he was in the wrong, didn't continue to argue. He began to explain in detail the reason why he took the risk to steal the Silver Moon Wolf's blood essence and suppress the ironback goshawk, the 8-legged black pearl, and the green-striped blue tiger. In fact, the reason for taking the risk was very simple. Thowling had his eyes on the 3 Emperor-level exotic beasts whose divine beast bloodline had already been activated by more than 70%. Chapter 1576. Inside the Lung clan's mansion in the Qinling Mountains. Thowling, thank you. In fact, Howard did not take the initiative to ask Thowling not because he wanted to take revenge on him for hiding householder Qing Lian's background. It was just that he was still immersed in the grief of Lin Mingyao's death and did not have the mood and energy to pay attention to other things. However, seeing how Thowling was constantly thinking and thinking for him, the gratitude that welled up in his heart made him stop in his tracks and thank him. After waving his hand to signal Howard to not be so polite, Thowling looked at the thousands of books and jade slips placed in the hall on the first floor through his consciousness space and suggested with a frown, Howard, it'll take at least 10 days to half a month to read all these books and jade slips. Why don't you keep them all in the Victor and read them carefully when you have free time in the future? Thowling, I'll have to trouble you then. Even if Thowling did not take the initiative to remind him, Howard would have asked him to keep all the books and jade slips in the hall. This was because he did not have much time to continue staying in the Lung clan in the Qinling Mountains. This was because he had to return to the prince's mansion in Xianyang City as soon as possible. Not only did he have to explain everything to Qin Lingfei in detail so that Lin Mingyao could move into the Yu clan's ancestral grave, but he also had to fulfill his promise to the sword without trace. There was no need for Howard to continue entering the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors of the Sutra Depository. Thowling used his powerful divine telekinesis as a demigod and stored more than 30,000 books and jade slips into the Victor in just 5 seconds. After that, Howard strode out of the Sutra Depository and quickly arrived at the Lung clan's treasury. However, when he saw the 6th floor of the treasury that had been destroyed by the exotic beast, a hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Luckily, his main objective this time was only to avenge Lin Mingyao, and he didn't really fancy the Lung family's treasury. Therefore, Yu Haoran quickly hid the disappointment in his eyes and soared into the sky. He then quietly floated in mid-air, silently waiting for the Lung family's final destruction. By the time the thousands of Saint Realm and Exalt Realm beasts had broken through the defensive formation of the Lung clan's core forbidden area and started slaughtering the old, weak, sick, and disabled members of the Lung clan, Yu Haoran knew that the Lung clan had truly been exterminated. The promise had been fulfilled, and the wish had been fulfilled. Yu Haoran gestured for Thaling to put away the trap formation set up by the nimble chessboard. Then he tore open the void in front of him and was about to leave the Lung clan's mansion when the green flood dragon, who was rushing over, urged him to stay. "Young man, please wait. Senior Green Dragon, is there anything else?" Yu Haoran asked indifferently as he maintained the spatial crack that was torn apart. "Young man, can we go somewhere else to talk?" The Green Dragon's gaze swept across the Emperor Wu and Martial Honorables who were approaching the Lung clan's mansion. There was a hint of hesitation in its eyes as it reminded him, "There's no need for such trouble." Shaking his head, Yu Haoran instructed Thaling to set up a formation that could block the prying of divine thoughts. "Senior Green Dragon, I'm a formation master at the Formation Emperor Realm. The formation that I've set up now can block the prying of the divine thoughts of almighty experts like Emperor Wu. So, if you have anything to say, please say it." After using Emperor Wu's divine thoughts to check, a hint of shock flashed in the Green Dragon's eyes, and it quickly said in surprise, "Young man, the reason why I gathered the beasts in the Qinling mountain range to besiege the Lung clan, other than the grudges that have accumulated over millions of years, is that in the deepest part of the Qinling mountain range, there's a deity's cave that is about to open. We don't want the Lung clan to be involved." Speaking of this, the Green Dragon's eyes were filled with sorrow as it spoke. Although the Lung clan was eventually eradicated by you and me, the four brothers who could assist in breaking into the deity's cave also died tragically. So, I can only reveal this secret to you now and invite you to explore the deity's cave together. Senior Green Dragon, the so-called deity refers to the divine beasts that have advanced to the divine realm or the deity experts that have broken through to the martial god realm. Although the secret revealed by the Green Dragon had aroused Yu Haoran's interest, in the next 6 months, he needed to search for the space crystal, fight for the void fruit in the Blue Moon secret realm, and enter the endless swamp to seize the fairy wood vine that assisted the realm spirit's body. So, he needed to weigh the pros and cons and see if it was suitable for him to take some time to explore the deity's cave in the depths of the Qinling mountain range. "Young man, according to my understanding of the deity's cave before I fell into a deep slumber, it has both." The Green Dragon replied excitedly, as if it did not see Yu Haoran's hesitation. "Senior Green Dragon, how do you explain that?" Yu Haoran asked in confusion. As a matter of fact, the owner of that cave is a deity expert that has broken through to the martial god realm, but his pet beast has also successfully advanced to the divine beast realm, the Green Dragon explained in detail. A contracted beast had also advanced to the divine beast realm, which meant that it was either a gifted beast or the owner of the cave was so powerful that he could train his pet beast to advance to the divine beast realm. Either way, it was very suitable for his current situation. Therefore, Yu Haoran, who was very interested, immediately asked when the cave would be opened. 1 month from today." The Green Dragon replied without hiding anything and looked at Yu Haoran expectantly. "Okay, 1 month from today, I will show up at the tower in the depths of the mountains on time." It would take him 1 or 2 days to deal with Lin Mingyao's funeral and half a month to find the space crystal. There were still 2 months before the appointment with Palace. He had just enough time. Therefore, while Yu Haoran agreed, he also gave the Green Dragon a time and place to meet. "I will wait for you at the tower in 1 month." After receiving the agreed time and place from Yu Haoran, the Green Flood Dragon nodded its huge head in response. "Senior Green Dragon, farewell." Yu Haoran gestured for the tower spirit to remove the divine sense shielding array. After that, he cupped his hands and stepped into the void crack that had been maintained all this time. After Yu Haoran left, the Green Dragon turned around and looked at Emperor Wu and the martial venerables who had arrived at the Lung family residence. A glint of coldness flashed in its eyes. Then, the green dragon returned to its original size of 20,000 meters. It waved its huge tail and smashed at the forbidden area where the three ancestors of the Lung family were sleeping. Boom! With a deafening roar, the green Jiao dragon created a 1,000-meter deep pit in the ground of the forbidden area. Roar! Immediately after, a pure dragon roar resounded from within the 1,000-meter deep pit, resounding through the clouds. Chapter 1577. Inside the Lung family mansion in the Qinling Mountains. Trying to run? Seeing the white dragon that was nearly 20,000 meters long trying to escape from the Lung clan's residence, the green dragon could not help but sneer. He directly used the law martial skill of the four laws of the sun, moon, and stars to forcefully stop the white dragon. Then the green dragon opened its mouth and swallowed the white dragon into its body. An upper-level 4 spiritual vein with its consciousness erased is enough for the green dragon to recover in a short period of time. It will also advance to the peak 2nd stage martial emperor realm. Looks like the entire Qinling Mountains will be the green dragon's nest in the future. Bailey Qingtong from the Bailey family ordered Bailey Pingtsuan solemnly as he watched the green dragon swallow the white dragon. Pingtsuan, before the other patriarchs recover the strength of Emperor Wu, ordered the clansmen not to risk entering the Qinling Mountains. Yes, Patriarch, Bailey Pingtsuan nodded and acknowledged the order. He raised his head and looked at the place where Yu Haoran disappeared with a disappointed look in his eyes. Roar! After successfully swallowing the 20,000-meter-long white dragon, the green dragon let out a deafening roar. Then, it swayed its huge body and charged into the depths of the Qinling Mountains. The hundreds of thousands of exotic beasts that had successfully slaughtered the remaining clansmen of the Lung family either rose into the air or left the Lung family mansion with the green dragon, returning to the depths of the Qinling Mountains. The Qinling Mountains were located in the north of the central region, about 700,000 miles away from the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the central region. The Hidden Dragon Fortress in the central region was about 2,700,000 miles away from Xianyang City in the southern region. Therefore, even if Yu Haoran used the method of tearing the void, it still took him almost a day to return to Xianyang City. As a result, he was almost dead tired. Not in a hurry to return to the prince's mansion, Yu Haoran temporarily hid in a cloud in the sky above Xianyang City. After recovering a part of his strength with the help of pills and spirit veins, Yu Haoran took out the rainbow auspicious cloud from the victor. After that, he took Lin Mengyao out of the victor and carefully laid her flat on the rainbow auspicious cloud. After tidying up her appearance, he guided the rainbow auspicious cloud to land in front of the prince's mansion. Prince Consort, you're back. Among the 4 9th-grade exalted realm serpents that were brought back from the Hidden Dragon Celestial Realm, the azure serpent that was responsible for guarding the mansion's entrance hurriedly bowed as it opened the gate with its serpent tail. Who's in the mansion now? Yu Haoran asked with a lonely expression as he guided the 7-colored auspicious cloud into the mansion. In response to Prince Consort's question, Her Highness, Eldest Miss Wu Hen, Young Master Wu, and a woman named Zhongli Shuiqin are all in the mansion. Although it didn't know why Yu Haoran was treating a female corpse so seriously, the Azure Serpent, who had been taught by Qin Lingfei and Chief Steward Jiang, scrupulously answered its duty. Tell everyone to go to the ancestral grave in the mansion. Since Zhongli Shuiqin had chosen Wu Zhijun, Lin Mengyao was also her senior sister and had the obligation to go to the ancestral grave to send her off. Therefore, Yu Haoran directly ordered, Yes, Prince Consort. The Azure Serpent responded and directly flew to the backyard of the mansion. Leading the rainbow auspicious cloud to the east side of the mansion, Yu Haoran arrived in front of a garden full of flowers that bloomed all year round. Looking at the lonely grave in the middle of the garden, the loneliness in his eyes was gradually replaced by sadness. He walked to the tombstone of the grave and carefully picked up Lin Mengyao from the rainbow auspicious cloud. Then, He gently placed her in front of the tombstone. Then, Yu Haoran put away the rainbow auspicious cloud and knelt in front of the tombstone. While touching the inscriptions on the tombstone, he tearfully told the story of his and Lin Mingyao's past lives. Qin Lingfei, the sword without trace, Wu Jingjun, and Zhongli Shuiqin, who had been informed by the Azure Serpent, quickly rushed to the ancestral grave. Yu Siki, after a fierce struggle in her mind, finally arrived in front of the ancestral grave when her family had a slight advantage. She looked at Yu Haoran kneeling in front of the tombstone with tears streaming down his face. Seeing Lin Mingyao lying quietly in front of the tombstone without a trace of life, Qin Lingfei and the others couldn't help but change their expressions. Qin Lingfei turned her head and told the sword without trace and Zhongli Shuiqin to stay where they were for the time being. She walked to the tombstone and also knelt next to Yu Haoran, quietly listening to him talk to himself. Qin Lingfei turned her head to look at Lin Mingyao, who was lying peacefully on the ground after hearing that her biological father had imprisoned her and then killed her by burning her soul and refining her blood. Her eyes were filled with pity and sympathy. When she heard that Yu Haoran had asked the black bear to use the gravity spell to build a 999-meter-tall tower, and then completed a short-lived and tragic wedding under the witness of all the beasts in the Qinling Mountains, Qin Lingfei suddenly felt a sense of suffocation in her heart. She felt suffocated, not because Yu Haoran had married another woman without informing her, but because Lin Mingyao had finally married the man she loved, but she couldn't hold his hand and grow old together with him. Good. Qin Lingfei couldn't help but cheer when she heard that Yu Haoran had used a formation to seal the Lung family's mansion and slaughtered the entire Lung family with the help of the beasts in the Qinling Mountains. Lingfei, I'm sorry. He was talking to himself. He was introducing Lin Mingyao to his deceased parents and explaining to Qin Lingfei what had happened between him and Lin Mingyao. Yu Haoran stopped crying when he finished talking about how the Lung family had been slaughtered by the beasts in the Qinling Mountains. He turned his head and looked into Qin Lingfei's eyes, apologizing. Qin Lingfei reached out to wipe away Yu Haoran's tears and comforted him. My husband, you didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to apologize to me. Lingfei, since I've already married Mingyao, then she's my wife just like you. So I want her to stay in the ancestral grave of the Yu family. Do you agree? Yu Haoran sincerely pleaded as he held onto the hand that was wiping away his tears. According to the customs of the profound sky continent, Yu Haoran didn't need to discuss something as important as staying in the ancestral grave with her as a man. He could make the decision himself. However, Yu Haoran had taken the initiative to ask for her opinion. This meant that in his heart, she wasn't just the woman he loved, but also the wife that he acknowledged and respected. How could Qin Lingfei not feel touched and sweet? My husband, I will accompany you to send off Sister Mingyao on her last journey and write her name into the family tree. Chapter 1578. Xianying City, in the Prince's Mansion. Lingfei, thank you. Although the gentle Qin Lingfei definitely wouldn't refuse Lin Mingyao's request to be buried in the ancestral grave, Yu Haoran was still very touched to receive her wholehearted approval and support. At the same time, he also felt very fortunate to have found such a kind and righteous wife. Reaching out, he patted Qin Lingfei lightly, indicating that she should leave his embrace for now. Yu Haoran rose 9 meters into the air and used the feng shui technique recorded in Fushi's 8 trigrams to combine with Lin Mingyao's birth date and time of death to finally calculate a suitable place for her to be buried. Landing on the chosen spot, Yu Haoran took out an ordinary iron sword and didn't use any of his elemental energy or soul power. Using only his hands and the iron sword, he started to dig a hole bit by bit. Seeing Yu Haoran's actions, Qin Lingfei also quickly took out an ordinary iron sword and used the same method to dig a hole. An hour later, a 2-meter-long, 1-meter-wide, and 2-meter-deep burial hole was dug. Retreating to the tombstone of the grave, Hu Hao took out from the Victor Thaling's newly refined crystal coffin that could preserve a corpse for 10,000 years without being destroyed. Hui Yuhao bent down to pick up Lin Mengyao lying in front of the tombstone and carefully placed her into the crystal coffin. Qin Lingfei stepped forward to help her rearrange her appearance so that she could maintain her most beautiful appearance. Standing by the side of the crystal coffin, Yu Haoran instructed Yu Siki and the others, Sister, Zhengjun Wuhin, Shui Qin, come and send Mengyao off for the last time. If the heavens have feelings, the heavens will also age. If the moon has no hatred, the moon will be round. If immortality exists, even if there are feelings, they will become emotionless. Perhaps it was because the mental cultivation method of Taishang Wang Qing was in the transition between emotionless and emotionless states. Yu Siki was sometimes emotionless and indifferent, sometimes emotionless and indifferent, and sometimes affectionate. Looking at Lin Mengyao, who had a happy smile on her face but was quietly lying flat in the crystal coffin, Yu Siki, who was in the state of ruthlessness and forgetfulness, sighed with a complicated emotion in her eyes. Then, her complicated feelings turned into indifference, making her turn around and leave the ancestral grave, and then return to her own meditation courtyard. Senior apprentice, Sister Mengyao, although we've only met a few times, your chivalrous character, tenderness, and righteousness have always made Wuhan admire you. Wuhan hopes that you can forget all the worries and sorrows of the world from now on and become a fairy without worries. The sword without trace walked in front of the crystal and used his elemental energy and soul power to condense an epiphyllum and place it in front of Lin Mingyao's chest. Her eyes were filled with pity as she bid him farewell and gave him her sincere blessings. Senior apprentice sister, take care. Although Wu Zhengjun and Lin Mengyao had interacted for a period of time during the training in the Blue Moon Secret Realm, the two of them had completely different personalities and did not have much interaction and communication. They did not understand each other very well. Therefore, looking at Lin Mengyao in the crystal coffin, Wu Zhengjun really did not know what to say. He could only give her the simplest and most sincere blessings. The Blood Phoenix was originally in the Sovereign Realm, but it's a pity that her father ruined her future. Zhongli Shuiqin, who was standing in front of the crystal coffin with Wu Zhengjun, could already see that Lin Mengyao possessed the Blood Phoenix physique just by looking at the trace of aura left on her body. Thinking that the Blood Phoenix was the most mysterious and powerful existence in the Divine Phoenix clan, Zhongli Shuiqin felt that it was a pity, but also gave her the most sincere blessings. Senior apprentice sister, take care. Mengyao, it's time to go. Looking at Lin Mengyao lying peacefully in the crystal coffin and the happy smile on her face, Su Ping recalled the wedding held by the tower. Once again, tears of sadness welled up in his eyes. Yu Haoran gently closed the crystal coffin and carefully placed it in the burial pit. The sadness in his eyes was instantly replaced by killing intent. Yu Haoran took out Cold Cloud, whose consciousness was sealed and Dantian was destroyed from the victor. Then he kicked Cold Cloud to the burial pit. After a period of absent-mindedness, Lung Yun, who gradually woke up from depression and despair, had the desire to survive in his heart again, especially when he found that the divine soul in his sea of consciousness was only sealed and did not suffer the slightest harm. His desire to survive became even stronger. Looking at Lin Mengyao lying peacefully in the crystal coffin, wearing a white corset dress like a holy white lotus, Cold Cloud, who had an idea, turned to Yu Haoran and said, Yu Haoran, since you've married Mengyao, then I, Cold Cloud, am your father-in-law. Cold Cloud first expressed their relationship with a gentle tone, then shouted with a fierce look, Yu Haoran, do you dare to kill your father? Shameless. Qin Lingfei couldn't help but curse when she heard Cold Cloud's reason for questioning. Wu Zhengjun and the Sword Without Trace immediately took out their weapons, ready to kill Cold Cloud on behalf of Yu Haoran. As for Zhongli Shuiqin, she kept looking at Yu Haoran with a thoughtful look in her eyes. Cold Cloud, from a moment you used the secret method of burning soul and refining blood to deal with Mengyao, there was no such thing as a father-daughter relationship between the two of you. Faced with Cold Cloud's shameless excuse, Yu Haoran took out the ancestor Lung's high-grade, emperor-grade sword and pointed the tip of the sword at Cold Cloud's heart, retorting with a cold smile. So, you're now a murderer, an enemy who must pay with blood. Yu Haoran, no matter what I did to Meng Yao, I gave her life. My blood will always flow in her body, Cold Cloud's blood. This can never be changed. The cold and sharp tip of the sword made Cold Cloud feel the threat of death descending, but his well-thought-out plan made him continue to insist on his blood relationship with Lin Meng Yao, because he knew very well that this was the only chance he had to save his life. If you want to leave a bad name for killing your father forever and be mocked in the future, then do it. Lung Yun's shameless means made it impossible for Yu Haoran to stab his sword into the other party's heart. Cold Cloud, I'm just a woman. I don't know anything about human relationships, and I don't care about bad reputation. Now, let me send you on your way. Seeing that Yu Haoran was caught between a rock and a hard place, Qin Lingfei snatched the high-grade, emperor-grade sword from him and stabbed it into Yu Haoran's heart with murderous intent. Yu, Cold Cloud, who had been guarding against Yu Haoran, forgot that the people around him didn't care about his father-daughter relationship with Lin Meng Yao. Lung Yun, who was still unwilling to die, looked at Yu Haoran with longing in his eyes as he sensed the Emperor's might from the high-grade Emperor Realm sword beginning to destroy his internal organs. His voice was filled with pleading. Chapter 1579. Xianyang City, in the prince's mansion. You heartless old thing, you still want to use possession to gain a new life? Dream on. Lung Yun still wanted to threaten Yu Haoran to spare his spirit by taking advantage of the relationship between Yu Haoran and Zhou Meng Yao so that Yu Haoran could use his spirit to possess Lung Yun's body. Qin Lingfei pulled out her sword of top-grade emperor level. She shouted angrily while stabbing the sword into Lung Yun's glabella to kill his spirit. Lingfei, thank you. Yu Haoran didn't care at all about the infamy of killing his own father, nor was he afraid of being discussed behind his back. However, he had killed Lin Mengyao's biological father in front of her. His heart was filled with guilt and self-reproach, so he couldn't kill him. Qin Lingfei's initiative to act on his behalf and the destruction of Cold Cloud's soul allowed him to successfully fulfill his promise. At the same time, the guilt and self-reproach in his heart finally dissipated and the shackles on his heart were completely broken. The moment the spiritual shackles were broken, the bottleneck of his mental state cultivation that had been unable to successfully break through to the martial emperor realm began to loosen. This made Yu Haoran overjoyed, and he could not help but thank Qin Lingfei. Prince Consort, husband and wife are one. You don't have to be so polite. Qin Lingfei said generously as she pulled out the sword that had pierced Lung Yun's forehead. She presented the sword to Yu Haoran as she spoke. Lingfei, you know I don't know how to use a sword. This high-grade, emperor-grade sword can gather the power of the stars, so I'll give it to you. Yu Haoran shook his head and gestured with a smile. Then he mobilized the fire in his dantian and burned Cold Cloud's body to ashes. Then he began to fill the hole with mud. He arranged the soil, soaked the grave, erected the tombstone, and carved the inscriptions. Looking at Lin Mengyao's name on the tombstone, Yu Haoran's eyes were filled with tenderness and no trace of sadness. Mengyao, after I'm done with this, I'll go to the Weitua Peak at the border of the central and western regions and personally pluck the most beautiful epiphyllum in the world. Reaching out to touch the inscriptions on the tombstone, Yu Haoran left behind his promise and turned to the sword without trace. Wuhan, follow me to a place, Yu Haoran said emotionally as he held Jian Wuhan's jade-like hand. The sword without trace's face reddened when Yu Haoran suddenly held her hand. But in the face of his passionate request, the sword couldn't help but look at Qin Lingfei. Silly girl, hurry up and go. Although Qin Lingfei was quite satisfied and gratified that the sword without trace asked for her opinion at this time, she didn't know how long it would take if she didn't seize the opportunity to express her feelings to Yu Haoran, who had always been the passive one. Therefore, Qin Lingfei hurriedly reminded the sword without trace through her divine sense. Okay. After receiving Qin Lingfei's reminder, The sword without trace nodded shyly and then soared into the air with Yu Haoran, quickly leaving the prince's mansion. Sister-in-law, the man who originally belonged to you was taken away by another equally outstanding woman. Are you really willing to do that? Seeing that Qin Lingfei didn't withdraw her gaze for a long time, Zhongli Shuiqin walked to her side and asked with eyes full of sympathy. Sister Suijin, if I say that I don't mind at all, I'd be lying to myself. Withdrawing her gaze, Qin Lingfei said with a complicated expression in her eyes, After all, I'm also a woman, a selfish woman when it comes to love. Sister-in-law, then why do you still want to promote the marriage between Dindiyu and the sword without trace? After hearing Qin Lingfei's attitude, Zhongli Shuiqin suddenly asked in confusion. Sister Suijin, the prince consort is an outstanding man. An outstanding man definitely doesn't belong to only one woman. Turning her head to look at Zhongli Shuiqin, Qin Lingfei explained with a bitter smile. Therefore, when I fell in love with the prince consort and was willing to become his wife, my heart was already prepared to accept other women. Sister-in-law, why do you have to wrong yourself like this? Zhongli Shuiqin really couldn't understand Qin Lingfei's thoughts when she was already prepared to split her love when she fell in love. Love with all my heart, Qin Lingfei replied with a happy smile. Sister Suijin, compared to other outstanding men, the prince consort is actually a very loyal man. In the 2 years we've known each other and been in love, there are too many girls who are as beautiful and talented as me, or even far better than me, who have fallen in love with him. However, the prince consort would either politely refuse or deliberately alienate them. Wu Hin is a woman who is as gentle as water, a woman who is selfless in love, a woman who is willing to sacrifice herself for the prince consort, and the only woman I can accept willingly. Speaking of this, Qin Lingfei's gaze passed over Zhongli Shuiqin and looked at Wu Zhengjun, who was waiting on the other side of the stone tablet. She softly advised, Sister Suijin, as a woman, you can't be too selfish. Not only must you give a man a certain amount of freedom, you must also be good at consolidating your weight and position in a man's heart. After hearing Qin Lingfei's reminder, the omniscient Zhongli Shuiqin fell into confusion for the first time in her life, because she suddenly felt that Qin Lingfei's reminder was very reasonable, but she was very confused about the specific reason. Qin Lingfei was also used to the deception of the harem on how to deal with the relationship between husband and wife. She was also not very clear about whether the theory she came up with was suitable for Zhongli Shuiqin's feelings towards Wu Zhengjun. Therefore, seeing that Zhongli Shuiqin was in confusion, Qin Lingfei did not explain too much and could only hope that she could figure out herself. After nodding to Wu Zhengjun, Qin Lingfei turned and left the ancestral grave. Using the method of tearing the void, Yu Haoran brought the sword without trace back to Beastmaster Peak at the 100 Chi Gate. He found a green rock on the peak and then sat on the green rock with his arms around her waist. The sword without trace leaned on his shoulder with a face full of happiness. They did not say anything to each other. They just quietly looked at the pure white clouds in the distance, at the familiar peak, and at the peak master of Beastmaster Peak, who was lying on a rattan chair halfway up the mountain and enjoying the last moments of his life. Junior brother, the peak master's days are numbered. After becoming a disciple of Beastmaster Peak, the sword without trace had been training outside for a long time. However, she had always respected the peak master of Beastmaster Peak, who had seen through the past and no longer had any desires in his heart. Now, as a peerless top martial venerable, she could see the true situation of the peak master of Beastmaster Peak at a glance. She could not help but feel a little sad. 1 year and 9 months. The peak master still has 1 year and 9 months. Chapter 1580. 100 Chi Gate, Beastmaster Peak, the summit. 1 year and 9 months. Hearing Yu Haoran's prediction of the Beastmaster Peak Master's lifespan, the sword without trace suddenly felt that fate was unpredictable. She did not want to waste any more time waiting and wanted to desperately grab hold of her own happiness. Raising her head and looking at Yu Haoran with a burning gaze, the sword without trace summoned her courage and requested, "Junior brother, kiss me." She had brought the sword without trace back to Beastmaster Peak at 100 Chi Gate alone because she wanted to fulfill the promise she had made to him at the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region. Therefore, when she took the initiative to ask for a kiss, Yu Haoran did not hesitate at all and went up to her. What followed next was an indescribable scene. The Beastmaster Peak Master, who was lying on the wooden rattan chair, closed his eyes and enjoyed the cool breeze blowing on his face and the shower of the setting sun. However, a feeling of being peeped suddenly rose in his heart, causing him to open his eyes abruptly and reveal a trace of doubt on his face. Beastmaster Peak is the faction that is least valued in the entire sect. It is also the faction that does not receive any cultivation resources. Logically speaking, it should not attract the attention of others. Then, why did I feel like I was being peeped at just now? Closing his eyes, the Peak Master of Beastmaster Peak began to carefully inspect the entire Beastmaster Peak using the divine sense of a Peak 9th grade martial arts grandmaster. However, the divine sense of a martial arts grandmaster was not only limited in its range, but also could not detect the formation that Yu Haoran had casually set up to prevent being peeped at. It seems that as my lifespan approaches, I am becoming more and more suspicious. After spending close to 5 minutes to thoroughly check the Tame Beast Peak, the Peak Master of the Tame Beast Peak could not help but sigh when he found nothing. Apart from the fact that I am the only old man left on Beastmaster Peak who is 1 foot in the grave. What else is there that is worth being peeped at? After sighing, the Peak Master of Beastmaster Peak lay back on the rattan chair. He closed his eyes and continued to enjoy the cool breeze caressing his face and the shower of the setting sun. Yes, after a full 5 minutes, the two of them finally separated from each other. The sword without trace blushed as he saw Yu Haoran's satisfied smile and couldn't help but bury his head in Yu Haoran's embrace. Hee. Compared to Qinling Fei, Yu Haoran had a completely different kind of enjoyment, which made him smile very proudly. However, when he saw the Beastmaster Peak Master sitting on the wooden rattan chair on the mountainside, a look of gratitude flashed through his eyes. It was because of the realization that the Peak Master of Beastmaster Peak didn't have much time left that the sword without trace completely opened up his shy heart and released his strong feelings. Using his mind, Yu Haoran took out a life essence pill that could extend one's lifespan by 1,000 years from his storage ring. He wrapped the life essence pill in his Yuan energy and delivered it to the Peak Master of Beastmaster Peak. Peak Master Zhang, this is a life essence pill that can extend one's lifespan by 1,000 years. It is a gift from your disciples, Yu Haoran and the sword without trace. The Peak Master of Beastmaster Peak opened his eyes abruptly and looked at the life essence pill floating in front of him. Yu Haoran's reminder echoed in his ears. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This was because he didn't expect that Yu Haoran and the sword without trace, who had become the cream of the crop, would return to the 100 Chi Gate. What was even more unexpected was that the sword without trace hadn't forgotten about him, the unqualified Peak Master, and her nominal master. Deputy Leader Yu Wu without trace, thank you. The Peak Master of Beastmaster Peak took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. After he got up, he cupped his hands and bowed to the life essence pill floating in front of him. Without replying to the Peak Master of Beastmaster Peak's gratitude, Yu Haoran placed the life essence pill on the armrest of the wooden rattan chair. He then took the sword without trace and soared into the sky, leaving the Beastmaster Peak and the 100 Chi Gate. Not only did he not receive any response, but the life essence pill had also landed on the armrest of the wooden rattan chair. This meant that Yu Haoran and the sword without trace had already left the Beastmaster Peak. Looking at the life essence pill on the armrest of the wooden rattan chair, Peak Master Zhang's eyes immediately revealed an uncontrollable look of surprise. Using his Yuan Qi, he sucked the life essence pill into his hand and swallowed it without any hesitation. 3 seconds later, Peak Master Zhang, who was carefully feeling the effects of the life essence pill on his lifespan, couldn't help but change his expression. He immediately bent his knees and sat down cross-legged. Then, he began to circulate the yellow-ranked Greenwood Heart Sutra. Boom! Accompanied by the dull sound of thunder, Peak Master Zhang's body immediately emitted a powerful aura of a breakthrough. Martial King Realm. Seeing the bottleneck that had troubled him for 100 years smoothly break through to the Martial King Realm the moment his lifespan was increased, Peak Master Zhang was incomparably surprised. At the same time, the gratitude he felt toward Yu Haoran and the sword without trace grew even stronger. Taking a deep breath, Peak Master Zhang took out 10 ninth-ranked first-grade spirit stones. Just as he was about to consolidate his breakthrough to the Martial King Realm, countless amounts of green energy suddenly appeared in his body, causing his cultivation to continue to rise uncontrollably. First-grade Martial King, second-grade Martial King, peak of ninth-grade Martial King. In merely 10 minutes, the green energy that appeared in his body caused Peak Master Zhang's cultivation to reach the peak of ninth-grade Martial King. At the same time, the yellow-ranked Greenwood Heart Sutra, which could only be cultivated to the peak of ninth-grade Martial King Realm, suddenly had the contents of the Martial Emperor, Martial Saint, and Martial Venerable Realm. This also allowed Peak Master Zhang, who had just familiarized himself with the Heart Sutra, to advance to the Martial Emperor Realm once again. First-grade Martial King, second-grade Martial King, peak of ninth-grade Martial King. In merely half an hour, Peak Master Zhang's cultivation directly rose to the peak of ninth-grade Martial King Realm. Although a breakthrough in cultivation was a good thing, this kind of uncontrollable and strange breakthrough made Peak Master Zhang feel incomparably panicked. At this moment, he wanted to immediately stop cultivating and let the breakthrough settle down. Then, he would go to the prince's mansion in Xianyang City and ask whether Yu Haoran had given him the life essence pill that could prolong his lifespan or the legendary 9 transformation golden pill that could immediately make him become an immortal. However, for some unknown reason, the green energy that constantly appeared in his body caused Peak Master Zhang to be unable to stop the circulation of the Greenwood Heart Sutra. Thus, he was unable to control the continuous rise of his cultivation. 3 minutes later, along with the dull sound of thunder that came from his body, Peak Master Zhang's cultivation was forced to advance to the Martial Saint Realm. At the same time, the aura of the law that was like the might of the heavens added another aura to Peak Master Zhang, who was sitting cross-legged with his legs bent. It made him feel like the heavens that look down on all living things, like the heavenly law that looked down on the existence of all living things. The seal on my lifespan has been broken. Today, you will know who I am. After successfully comprehending the power of the law that was like the might of the heavens and smoothly advancing to the first-grade Martial Saint Realm, Peak Master Zhang's unceasing breakthrough finally settled down. Chapter 1581. The Thousand Butterfly Valley was located at the border between the central and eastern regions. It was an extremely secluded and small valley. As a result, although the Thousand Butterfly Valley's environment was like a paradise, very few people knew of its existence. Yu Haoran couldn't help but take a deep breath as he gazed at the strange valley that looked like a beautiful butterfly flapping its wings, ready to take flight at any moment. He then stepped into the valley. Fog. When the spiritual energy of the world reached a certain density, it would condense and not disperse, forming a spiritual fog. Flowers. Tens of thousands of colorful flowers not only gave people a comfortable and relaxed feeling, but also made Yu Haoran feel like he had entered a paradise of flowers. Something's wrong. Just as he was intoxicated by the beautiful fragrance of the valley, a faint feeling of dizziness assaulted him. Yu Haoran immediately sensed that something was wrong with the Thousand Butterfly Valley before him. He immediately sealed off his sense of smell to prevent the fragrance from seeping into his body. However, not only did the dizziness not disappear, it even began to affect his soul in his sea of consciousness. He did not panic in the slightest. He quickly took out a Tier 3 first-grade detoxification pill that could cure all poisons and consumed it. Although the dizziness did not truly disappear, the poison that had caused the dizziness was greatly weakened. Since the detoxification pill was effective, Yuhaoran was completely at ease. Then, relying on his understanding of the way of poison, he began to carefully discern the cause of the dizziness. Thousand Soft 100 Charm Fragrance. After a careful inspection, Yuhaoran immediately sensed a familiar feeling. He immediately began to observe the origin of the colorful flowers in the valley. In the end, he determined that the cause of the dizziness was actually the Thousand Soft 100 Charm Fragrance, which was not ranked very high on the 100 Poison ranking, but had never been refined by anyone. Yuhaoran, now do you know why no one knows of the 1,000 Butterfly Valley's existence? Thaling, who had yet to lend a hand, reminded him with a smile when he saw that Yuhaoran had discovered the abnormality of the 1,000 Butterfly Valley. Thaling, tell me the truth. Just who is the master of this 1,000 Butterfly Valley? Without Thaling's laughter, Yuhaoran's expression relaxed in the slightest. He continued to ask with a serious expression, Yuhaoran, this 1,000 Butterfly Valley is ownerless. It doesn't have a master. Thaling vowed. Impossible. In the face of Thaling's confident reply, Yuhaoran immediately shook his head and denied it. Then, he quickly walked to the center of the valley and pointed at the two different colored flowers. A rank 2 first-grade wind butterfly flower has the effect of calming the mind. It can be used to refine a rank 2 first-grade soul cleansing pill. A rank 2 Rank 1 blood butterfly flower has a strong poison that can corrode the sea of knowledge and spirit. It can be used to refine a rank 2, rank 3 soul extermination pill. It can also directly reduce the cultivation of Emperor Wu and a martial honorable by a small realm. A sliver of worry appeared in Yuhaoran's eyes as he pulled back his finger from the two flowers. Thaling, it's impossible for two spiritual flowers with completely opposite attributes and effects to exist together. Only a poison master who has reached the level of a poison emperor in the way of poison can use poison guidance to achieve the coexistence of poisonous and spiritual flowers. Yuhaoran, this 1,000 Butterfly Valley has existed since the Middle Ages. Even after the destruction of the Middle Ages and Late Ages, the valley has only shifted its position. It hasn't suffered any damage at all. Thaling explained without any nervousness in the face of Yuhaoran's denial. As a result, even if the master who created this 1,000 Butterfly Valley was a poison emperor in the way of poison, he must have died in the destruction of the Middle Ages. You don't have to worry at all. Seeing that Thaling still did not understand the severity of the situation, Yuhaoran took out a supreme Exalt Realm sword and directly cut off the blood butterfly flower's flower. He then pointed at the rapidly withering root as a reminder. Thaling, although the blood butterfly flower's poison is very strong, there is a limit to its lifespan. Even if it reaches the rank 1, rank 9, its lifespan will not exceed 10,000 years. Afterwards, he began to gather flowers of different colors around the 1,000 Butterfly Valley. He gathered a total of 99 different types of flowers. He returned to the withering blood butterfly flower and directly shattered the 99 different types of flowers. When the powder of the flowers landed on the withering blood butterfly flower's root, it rapidly regained its vitality and blossomed into a new blood butterfly flower. Thaling, do you understand now? Yuhaoran reminded sternly as he pointed at the new bud and blossomed blood butterfly flower. Yuhaoran, wait a moment. Let me inspect it again. Rank 1, rank 9 only had a lifespan of 10,000 years. At the same time, it needed to absorb 99 types of poison to regain its vitality. Yuhaoran's actions just now made Thaling truly realize how unusual the 1,000 Butterfly Valley was. He planned to use his Victor's energy to inspect it from top to bottom. After inspecting for a full 3 minutes, he still found nothing. This made Yuhaoran frown involuntarily. 1,000 Softness 100 Charm Incense, the most unique poison on the 100 Poison ranking. Although the thousand softness 100 charm incense's poison was not the most potent, it was a poison that tested a poison master's cultivation and understanding of the way of poison the most. In his previous life, he and the 5 poison sect's Grand Elder had once opened up a medicinal field to cultivate poisonous and spiritual flowers in order to refine the 1,000 softness 100 charm incense. In the end, they had failed because of the conflicting attributes of the poisonous and spiritual flowers. Later on, after countless failed experiments and combining it with the 5 poison cult's sacred canon, he and the 5 poison cult's Grand Elder came to the conclusion that if one wanted to refine the 1,000 soft 100 charm soul enchanting incense, they would need to be at least at the Poison Emperor realm. Now, based on the characteristics of the 1,000 Butterfly Valley and the fact that the 1,000 softness 100 charm incense had been successfully cultivated but not collected, it was enough to prove that the Poison Emperor had not left. Otherwise, if the poison gas of the 1,000 softness 100 charm incense accumulated to a certain limit, it would cause a mutation that even the Poison Emperor would not be able to control. Yu Haoran, an acquaintance, is here. Thaling was unwilling to give up and inspected the 1,000 Butterfly Valley once more. In the end, he still found nothing and could only withdraw his consciousness. However, at this moment, a trace of familiarity made Thaling immediately use his victor's energy to take a risk and take a look. He then anxiously warned Yu Haoran. "Who is it?" Yu Haoran hurriedly asked as he quickly searched for a suitable hiding spot. "The person who was reborn along with the void mirror." Thaling quickly returned to Victor's main body and reminded him with a grave expression. Chapter 1582. In the 1,000 Butterfly Valley. According to Thaling's calculations, the Void Mirror's artifact spirit was likely to maintain the strength of a third tribulation demigod. Therefore, in order to prevent the Void Mirror's artifact spirit from discovering the existence of Victor and Thaling, hiding in the Victor would definitely not work. Fortunately, the unique environment of the 1,000 Butterfly Valley allowed Yu Haoran to quickly find a way to conceal himself. He quickly took out 9 types of highly toxic medicinal herbs from his storage ring and used his Dantian fire to refine them. Then, he directly sprinkled the 9 types of highly toxic spiritual liquids on the blood butterfly flower. The blood butterfly flower that quickly absorbed the 9 types of poisonous liquids dropped 3 petals. He reached out and caught the 3 petals. After using his origin energy to shatter the petals, he directly sprinkled the powder of the petals on himself. Then, he bent down and hid under the blood butterfly flower. Empty, this is the 1,000 Butterfly Valley that contains the space crystal. Just as Yu Haoran used the powder of the blood butterfly flower to hide, he heard a slightly familiar voice. The third young master of the demonic way, the only son of the Shueisha sect's master, Shui Xiangqin. Carefully recalling the few people who entered the core of the demonic god's ancient tomb when it exploded, Yu Haoran finally remembered the owner of the voice that gave him a familiar feeling. Hearing Yu Haoran point out the origins of the Void Mirror's reincarnator, Thaling immediately asked, "Yu Haoran, you know this Shui Xiangqin? There are 3 young masters of the demonic way. They are Yuan Haofei, the only son of the heavenly demon sect's master, Wuma Xingjin, the 9th son of the earth demon sect's master, and Shui Xiangqin, the only son of the Shueisha sect's master." Trying his best to calm his fluctuating emotions, Yu Haoran explained Shui Xiangqin's origins in detail. Among the 3 young masters, Wuma Xingjin is the oldest, has the highest cultivation, and is the strongest. His temperament and style are the most unlike those of the demonic way. He is also the most promising top genius to become a mighty expert like Emperor Wu in a short time. Yuan Haofei is the youngest, but he's the most talented and has the greatest potential. He's a true demonic cultivator. Shui Xiangqin's age is between the 2 of them. Although his cultivation and strength are not as good as Wuma Xingjing's, and his talent and potential are not as good as Yuan Haofei's, he is the wisest, the most cunning, and the most ruthless. He is a demon 10 times, 100 times more evil than a demonic cultivator. No wonder Void Mirror has never abandoned Shueishanshan. It turns out that they are birds of a feather, Thowling said thoughtfully after hearing Yu Haoran's evaluation of the three demonic young masters. In this regard, Yu Haoran did not continue to express any opinions. He just tried his best to control his emotional fluctuations and heartbeat to avoid being detected by the Void Mirror and Shueishanshan. Kong Kong, the Thousand Butterfly Valley, is so beautiful. The soft sound of footsteps indicated that Shueishanshan had already entered the valley. The sighs that followed filled Yu Haoran's eyes with a trace of anticipation. He hoped that the Void Mirror and Shueishanshan would not be able to detect the poisonous gas of the Thousand Soft Charm fragrance and die in the Thousand Butterfly Valley. However, what made Yu Haoran feel extremely regretful was that even the pagoda spirit knew about the Thousand Butterfly Valley's hidden Thousand Soft Hundred Charm fragrance, which could cause one's soul to become dizzy. As a Void Realm expert, he also knew about it. Therefore, although Yu Haoran did not see Shueishanshan take the antidote pill to restrain the Thousand Soft Charm fragrance from his steady footsteps and heartbeat, Yu Haoran knew that he was not affected by the poisonous gas at all. Not long after, a slender, handsome young man with a slightly feminine temperament walked quickly into Yu Haoran's sight. Yu Haoran, don't continue to stare at Shueishanshan. He's already at the peak of the third rank of Emperor Wu. Seeing that Yu Haoran was about to carefully size up Shueishanshan, Thowling, who had promptly discovered that Shueishanshan was not ordinary, hurriedly warned him. Closing his eyes, he did not think, did not ask, and allowed himself to enter a state of complete silence. It was not until Shueishanshan had entered the deepest part of the Thousand Butterfly Valley that Yu Haoran slowly opened his eyes, allowing the shock in his heart to begin to churn. Thowling, the heavenly Tao has only just entered a state of hibernation. It still has a slight influence on the environment. Isn't the Void Mirror afraid that it will attract the attention of the heavenly Tao and send down an artifact tribulation that will destroy the artifact? Yu Haoran asked in disbelief as he took a deep breath to calm his churning emotions as quickly as possible. Furthermore, Shueishanshan is only 1 year older than Yuan Haofei. Without the support of the enormous hidden dragon fate, how could his cultivation have advanced so quickly? Only 4 days had passed since the end of the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking competition. The heavenly Tao, which had perfected the rules, had just entered a state of hibernation. This was also the reason why no one had chosen to break through to the Emperor Wu's realm when the environment was clearly suitable. This was because they wanted to wait until the heavenly Tao's influence on the world had completely disappeared before choosing to break through with peace of mind. However, Shueishanshan clearly had not done so. Were he in the Void Mirror not afraid of attracting the attention of the heavenly Tao? Furthermore, with the support of the hidden dragon fate of both the Northern Region Hidden Dragon ranking and the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking, Yuan Haofei had only just broken through to the peak of the 6th rank of Martial Venerable. Thus, how had Shueishanshan, whose talent and potential were far inferior to Yuan Haofei's, reached the peak of the 3rd rank of Emperor Wu in such a short time? Yu Haoran, as an innate treasure that can freely travel through space. The Void Mirror has the ability to create an independent space that allows Shueishanshan to break through to the next realm without being monitored by the heavenly Tao. In response to Yu Haoran's 2 questions, Thowling quickly answered the questions about the Void Mirror. Then, he turned to look into the depths of the Thousand Butterfly Valley and frowned. As for why Shueishanshan, whose talent and potential are not outstanding, was able to surpass all the geniuses of the younger generation in the Tianxin continent and reach the peak of the 3rd rank of Emperor Wu, I'm not sure either. Perhaps he had his own fortuitous encounter. Phew. After taking 3 deep breaths and barely managing to calm his fluctuating emotions, Yu Haoran stood up and left the blood butterfly flower. Then, he looked up into the depths of the Thousand Butterfly Valley with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. Yu Haoran, the true form of the Void Mirror, was born from a chaos space crystal in the chaos before the heavens and earth were created. although it is unable to successfully comprehend and control the power of the law of space. The spatial ability it possesses is not inferior to the law of space at all. Although Yuhauran did not say anything, the hesitation in his eyes let Thaling know what he wanted to do. If his godly soul could recover to the level of a third tribulation demigod, Thaling was confident that he would be able to fight the Void Mirror's weapon spirit by relying on the strength of the victor, which was far superior to the Void Mirror's weapon spirit. However, he had to face the Void Mirror's weapon spirit now. Otherwise, the Void Mirror would definitely absorb and devour the law of space energy contained in the domain body. Chapter 1583. Thousand Butterfly Valley. After listening to Thaling's detailed explanation of the Void Mirror's origins, Yuhauran slowly closed his eyes and began to consider how he could resolve his current predicament. Thaling was temporarily unable to meet the artifact spirit of the Void Mirror. This meant that he had lost his strongest means of tracking Thaling and concealing himself. As for Shuexianshan, Emperor Wu's peak third-grade cultivation and the Void Mirror's artifact spirit's third tribulation demigod cultivation, he had neither the ability nor the qualifications to approach Thaling alone. After thinking it over, it seemed that his only option was to temporarily retreat from Thousand Butterfly Valley. Although Yuhauran was unwilling to give up on the space crystal so close to him, he had no choice but to accept reality. Sigh. With a soft sigh, Yuhauran turned to leave Thousand Butterfly Valley. However, a sudden wave of drowsiness swept over him. He immediately realized that the poison in the blood butterfly flower's petals had neutralized the antidote pill he had just taken, allowing the 1,000 soft charm fragrance's poison to take effect once more. Yuhauran took out another antidote pill. Just as he was about to consume it, a thought flashed through his mind. Cultivation wasn't the only thing that reflected one's strength. Alchemy, formation, and so on were also factors that aided one's cultivation. Although his cultivation wasn't as high as Shuexianshan's, he was proficient in the poison Dao. Coupled with the unique environment of Thousand Butterfly Valley, the strength he could display in the end wouldn't necessarily be lower than Shuexianshan's. With that thought, Yuhauran immediately consumed the antidote pill in his hand. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to consider how he could make use of Thousand Butterfly Valley's unique environment to deal with the Void Mirror and Shuexianshan. Although he could eventually turn Thousand Butterfly Valley into a dead valley by mixing in all sorts of deadly poisons, Shuexianshan and the Void Mirror would either die in the valley or be forced to flee through space. However, it would also completely block his path to finding the space crystal. This wasn't in line with his plan of taking the risk to enter Thousand Butterfly Valley. After shaking his head and rejecting the first method that he had just thought of, Yuhauran started to work on the 1,000 Soft 100 Charm Soul enchanting fragrance. Based on his understanding of Shuexianshan in his previous life, he knew that Shuexianshan had no talent in alchemy at all. Then, combined with Thaling's introduction of the Void Mirror, Yuhauran boldly guessed that Shuexianshan's detoxification pill was most likely something that he and the Void Mirror had specially requested a Grandmaster Alchemist to refine for the special environment of the Thousand Butterfly Valley. Considering that he was the only alchemist in the Tianxian continent who was at the level of an alchemy emperor, and that he was the only one who had the ability to concoct level 2 detoxification pills, an idea that could deal with Shuexianshan and the Void Mirror began to form. Quickly getting up and leaving the center of the valley, Yuhauran returned to the entrance of the Thousand Butterfly Valley. Immediately, he mobilized the power of laws of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Using the cycle of the 4 seasons, he accelerated the growth of the 10,000 poisonous flowers and spirit poisons in the Thousand Butterfly Valley, increasing the grade and power of the 1,000 Soft 100 Charm Soul enchanting fragrance. After using the cycle of the 4 seasons 3 times and personally experiencing it, he confirmed that the 1,000 Soft 100 Charm Soul enchanting fragrance's power had increased by at least 5 times. Furthermore, detoxification pills below level 2 were no longer enough to remove or weaken the dizziness that the 1,000 Soft 100 Charm Soul enchanting fragrance had on the soul. Afterwards, Howard continued to sit down cross-legged and used the void pill condensation technique to concoct 9 level 2 detoxification pills. After ensuring that he would not be harmed by the 1,000 soft 100 charm soul enchanting fragrance, he re-entered the 1,000 Butterfly Valley and carefully approached the depths of the valley. Although Thaling did not appear to stop him, he concealed the presence of the victor even more to prevent the artifact spirit of the void mirror from noticing anything. The 1,000 Butterfly Valley was not very large. It was only around 4,000 meters deep, so even though Howard carefully approached it, it took him less than 10 minutes to reach the depths of the valley. However, when he saw the poisonous tree in the deepest part of the valley, which was covered in purple flowers and was as beautiful as a peerless beauty, he was instantly shocked. He couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Howard, what's wrong? The drastic change in Howard's emotions immediately attracted the attention of Thaling hidden within the victor. He glanced into the depths of the valley through his sea of consciousness and did not discover any traces of the void mirror or Shui Xianqin. So he took the risk of asking Howard about it. Supreme Flower Poison, Rank 2 9th Grade Purple Wisteria Sparrow's Golden Flower. Howard said with a trembling voice as he pointed at the 2-meter-tall spirit tree in front of him. Howard, what do you mean? After hearing Howard's reply, Thaling thought carefully for a while and realized that he, who rarely came into contact with poison, had never heard of the purple wisteria sparrow's golden flower, nor did he know what the supreme flower poison meant. Thaling, the so-called supreme flower poison, refers to the spirit flowers that contain poison and have the potential to become gods. It's almost equivalent to the direct bloodline of the 9 great divine beast kings within 3 generations. It will have its own consciousness as soon as it germinates. After explaining to this point, Howard turned his head and glanced at the 10,000 poisonous and spiritual flowers in the 1,000 Butterfly Valley behind him with lingering fear. Moreover, the true owner of the 1,000 Butterfly Valley is the purple wisteria sparrow's golden flower in front of you. The 1,000 softness 100 charm incense cultivated in the valley is the energy that allows this purple wisteria sparrow's golden flower to continuously evolve. Howard, I remember that when we first entered the 1,000 Butterfly Valley, you once said that only poison masters at the level of Poison Emperor can cultivate and refine the 1,000 softness 100 charm incense. Howard's introduction of the purple spirit tree in front of him gave Thaling a very bold idea, and he couldn't help but ask, could it be that the purple wisteria sparrow's golden flower, which has matured intelligence, possesses the poison techniques of a poison emperor? That's right. Howard smiled bitterly as he nodded to confirm Thaling's conjecture. As the supreme flower of poison, the rank 2 9th grade purple wisteria sparrow's golden flower not only possesses the techniques of a poison emperor, but also has a special constitution and shape that allows it to devour and be immune to most poisons in the world. Thus, this purple wisteria sparrow's golden flower before us is equivalent to an almighty expert like Emperor Wu, who is proficient in the Tao of poison. It is a terrifying existence that even Shui Xianqin cannot provoke. Howard, what do you plan to do next? Up ahead, there was the Void Mirror and Shui Xianqin, whom he couldn't meet for the time being. Now, there was also the purple wisteria sparrow's golden flower blocking his path to the core of the valley. His plan to gather space crystals was basically ruined. The best choice right now was to immediately leave the perilous 1,000 Butterfly Valley and go to another place to continue searching for space crystals. However, since he had already decided to give Howard a chance to grow, there were some things that he would have to make the final decision on. Chapter 1584. In the 1,000 Butterfly Valley. Leave. Finding the space crystal was important, but compared to his life, the space crystal was insignificant. As such, Howard didn't hesitate at all when faced with Thaling's question. He immediately turned around and prepared to leave the 1,000 Butterfly Valley. However, just as he was about to leave, a gust of wind blew through the originally peaceful 1,000 Butterfly Valley. As the cool breeze brushed past his face, the thousand soft hundred charm, bewitching fragrance floating in the valley gradually began to move. As the wind blew harder and harder, the thousand soft hundred charming fragrance gathered faster and faster. In the end, it all condensed in front of the purple golden sparrow flower. Rank up. Thowling also sensed the changes in the valley. He took a risk and used his divine sense to check the purple wisteria sparrow flower's condition. He was shocked as he cried out. Following this, he couldn't help but sigh. Ah, it's a pity that it's a poisonous tree and flower. Otherwise, you could use the divine spiritual chi that it gathered when it ascended to the first rank to assist your soul power in breaking through to Emperor Wu's realm. Yu Haoran didn't sigh because of Thowling's disappointment. He felt that it was a pity. This was because he realized that the thousand soft hundred charm fragrance gathered by the purple wisteria sparrow flower seemed to have a mind of its own and was intentionally avoiding him. The thousand soft hundred charm fragrance was like the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. It was a type of gas that contained extreme poison. Under special circumstances, it could also be used to assist in a breakthrough. As such, the thousand soft hundred charm fragrance couldn't possibly have its own consciousness. In that case, the only thing that could control the thousand soft hundred charm fragrance was the purple wisteria sparrow flower, or rather the purple wisteria sparrow tree. He turned his head to look at the purple wisteria sparrow flower that was crazily devouring the thousand soft hundred charm fragrance. He couldn't help but furrow his brows as he looked at the flowers that were falling from its branches. According to his understanding of the purple wisteria sparrow tree, not only was it not a kind being that advocated peace, but it was also affected by the thousand soft hundred charm fragrance. It was an evil demonic tree that killed people without spitting out their bones. Then why did it control the concentration of the thousand soft hundred charming soul enchanting fragrance to bypass him? He didn't remember having any interactions with it, and there was no friendship between them. Yu Haoran hide. Void Mirror and Shui Xiangqian are coming out. It was because he had taken the risk to use his divine telekinesis to observe the changes in the Thousand Butterfly Valley that Thowling had been able to discover the changes in the void in the depths of the valley. He also knew that the cause of the changes in the void came from the Void Mirror. After hearing Thowling's reminder, Yu Haoran temporarily ignored the doubts that emerged in his heart. He immediately hid between several flourishing spiritual and poisonous flowers and quickly concealed his aura. Just as Yu Haoran finished concealing himself, the void above the purple vine sparrow gold tree suddenly split open. Shui Xiangqian, who looked very tired, rushed out of the void crack. This is... A thought flashed through Yu Haoran's mind when he saw Shui Xiangqian rushing out of the void crack with two watermelon-sized, translucent crystals in his hands. Perhaps it was because the purple vine sparrow gold tree had caused a great disturbance when it advanced to the first rank, which affected the perception of the Void Mirror's divine telekinesis. Therefore, Thowling took the initiative to explain when he saw the two crystals in Shui Xiangqian's hands. Yu Haoran, the two crystals in Shui Xiangqian's hands are not only space crystals that contain space energy, but also high-quality space crystals of the third rank of the fifth rank. After hearing Thowling's explanation, Yu Haoran immediately became interested and asked, "Thowling, do space crystals have a detailed classification?" "That's right." Thowling nodded and explained while watching Shui Xiangqian, who was constantly taking detoxification pills. "Yu Haoran, space crystals are the same as the spirit stones you've taken before. They have a detailed classification of the 10th rank and 9th rank. The difference in space energy between each rank is basically the same as the difference between spirit stones of different ranks." "Thowling, I remember that when Shui Xiangqian entered the Thousand Butterfly Valley, you once said that the Void Mirror's device spirit has the ability to create an independent space that can avoid the surveillance of the rules of heaven. Through the comparison between space crystals and spirit stones, Thowling gave Yu Haoran a quick understanding of the classification of space crystals. But when he noticed that Shui Xiangqian was continuously consuming Tier 3 grade 9 detoxification pills to weaken the effects of the enchanting fragrance on his spirit. Yang Kai couldn't help but ask, "What is it?" Then, the Void Mirror's device spirit can create an independent space that can completely block the influence of the alluring fragrance gathered by the purple vine sparrow gold tree. This, in the face of Yu Howren's questioning, Thaling, who also didn't know the reason, frowned and didn't know how to answer. Hong Kong, the alluring fragrance is getting stronger and stronger. I can't hold on any longer. The power of the 1,000 softness 100 charm incense, which was enhanced by the 4 seasons law of reincarnation, was no longer something that could be neutralized by a grade 3-9 detoxification pill. Needless to say, the 1,000 softness 100 charm incense had been strengthened by the purple wisteria sparrow golden tree's advancement. The reason why Xue Xiangqin didn't pass out immediately was partly because he kept taking detoxification pills, but the fundamental reason was that Emperor Wu's cultivation was at the peak of level 3. However, as he absorbed more and more alluring fragrance, his body became more and more resistant to detoxification pills. His drooping eyelids made it impossible for Xue Xiangqin to communicate with the Void Mirror's device spirit in his sea of consciousness, so he reminded it by speaking. "Xiangqin, hold on for one more minute, and I'll succeed." What Yu Howren and Thaling didn't expect was that the Void Mirror's response not only used the same method of speaking, but also came from the Void Crack. "I see." It carefully recalled its experience of entering the depths of the 1,000 Butterfly Valley to collect space crystals. A familiar scene surged into its mind, allowing the Tower Spirit to understand why the Void Mirror's artifact spirit did not create an independent space that could block the 1,000 soft 100 charming soul fragrance. It also knew what it was doing right now. "Thaling, what's the matter?" Yu Howren immediately asked. In the face of Yu Howren's questioning, Thaling didn't respond. Instead, he stared at the void crack behind Xue Xiangqin with a hint of struggle in his eyes. Controlling his spirit with his mind, Yu Howren entered the victor. Seeing Thaling staring at the void crack, Yu Howren immediately guessed his thoughts and made the decision to act immediately. Chapter 1585. In the 1,000 Butterfly Valley. If he could make up for what he lacked from those 4 fellows, his cultivation base and strength, as well as his luck and destiny, would undergo earth-shaking changes. Moreover, if Xue Xiangqin did not die, or rather, if he did not leave the 1,000 Butterfly Valley, he would not be able to obtain the space crystal at the core of the 1,000 Butterfly Valley. Since he had already made up his mind, Yu Howren was not the kind of person who would drag his feet. While activating the Ancestral Sorcerer's physical body, he immediately used the third move of the Ancestral Sorcerer's inherited fist technique, fist shattering the Star River, towards the void crack behind Xue Xiangqin. The moment he used the fist technique, Yu Howren quickly retreated to the blood butterfly flower in the center of the valley. Then, he used the same method to obtain the 3 petals, shattered them, and hid directly under the blood butterfly flower. Who sneaked up on me? Xue Xiangqin's divine soul was becoming more and more exhausted under the influence of the alluring fragrance. His vigilance was greatly affected, and he did not notice until the power of the fist shattering the Star River reached him. Xue Xiangqin, who had no time to block the attack, could only watch as the fist energy blasted into the void crack while shouting angrily. Boom! Before Yu Howren's cultivation had reached the martial venerable realm, the power of the fist shattering the Star River was enough to shatter the void and stir up spatial turbulence. Now, with the cultivation of a complete 10th grade martial venerable and the grade of Emperor Wu's physical body, the power of the fist shattering the Star River had increased by nearly 100 times. Therefore, as soon as the power of the fist shattering the Star River touched the void crack, it directly shattered the void crack, temporarily cutting off the connection between Xue Xiangqin and the Void Mirror's weapon spirit. Seeing an opportunity, the Tower Spirit attacked without hesitation, instantly injuring Xue Xiangqin. Not only did the Tower Spirit snatch away the 2 space crystals and storage ring from Xue Xiangqin's hand, but it also collected some of the blood Shui Xiangqun spat out. Damn it. Don't let this young master know who you are. Otherwise, not only will this young master pull out your bones and skin you, I will also exterminate your entire clan and let you know the consequences of sneak attacking this young master. Shui Xiangqun instinctively took out a spatial transmission talisman refined by the Void Mirror artifact spirit when he sensed the power of the fist technique heading towards the void crack. As such, when he was severely injured by Thaling's sneak attack, he did not hesitate to shatter the spatial teleportation talisman. As he left the Thousand Butterfly Valley, he left behind a threat filled with hatred. Who was it that destroyed the void crack that I created? Just as Thaling returned to the victor's body and the void that had been shattered by Yu Haoran's fist technique quickly calmed down, an angry shout came from the void that had reappeared. Accompanied by a furious roar, an ancient bronze mirror charged out of the spatial crack. After sensing the residual energy of the teleportation talisman in the air, the bronze mirror vanished from the Thousand Butterfly Valley in a flash. After waiting for nearly 10 minutes, and confirming that the Void Mirror and Shui Xiangqun would not return to the Thousand Butterfly Valley, Yu Haoran swallowed 3 rank 2, rank 3 detoxification pills, and walked out from under the blood butterfly flower. Yu Haoran raised his head to look at the wisteria sparrow gold tree that was furiously devouring the soul-enchanting fragrance. He took a deep breath and turned to leave the Thousand Butterfly Valley. Thaling had successfully stolen 2 rank 5, rank 3 spatial crystals from Shui Xiangqun when he ambushed him. They were enough for him to use with the Void Fruit to comprehend the laws of space, so there was no need for him to stay and risk his life. However, just as he turned around and was about to leave, a gentle and charming voice suddenly sounded in his ears. "Young man, please wait." Yu Haoran abruptly turned to look into the depths of the Thousand Butterfly Valley. He immediately mobilized all of his elemental and soul force and reminded Thaling to be prepared to use the body of the prince. "Young man, there's no need to be nervous. I bear you no ill will." Facing Yu Haoran's quick attack posture, the voice that sounded just now hurriedly signaled, "Senior, what are you trying to do?" Yu Haoran knew exactly where the voice had come from. He didn't relax in the slightest just because the other party had taken the initiative to show him goodwill. He maintained his attack stance, knowing that if it didn't explain its true intentions, the human expert in front of it would never let go of his hostility. The voice explained in detail. "Young man, if you hadn't used the laws of 4 seasons to increase the power of the soul-enchanting fragrance, I would have needed at least several thousand years to reach rank 1. Rank 1. That's why the Wisteria Sparrow Gold Tree is indebted to you." "I see." After hearing the Wisteria Sparrow Gold Tree's explanation, Yu Haoran finally understood why the soul-enchanting fragrance had avoided him when the Wisteria Sparrow Gold Tree had ascended to rank 1. Rank 1. The reason was that his plan to deal with Shui Xiangqun had inadvertently helped the Wisteria Sparrow Gold Tree obtain an opportunity to ascend. However, considering the purple Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree's murderous nature, its flip-flopping style, and its terrifying strength after advancing to the first rank of the first stage, the cautious Yu Haoran only wanted to leave the Thousand Butterfly Valley as soon as possible to avoid any unpredictable changes. Therefore, when the Wisteria Sparrow Gold Tree mentioned the grace of rebirth, Yu Haoran immediately cupped his hands and declined. "Senior, the reason this junior used the laws of 4 seasons to increase the power of the soul-enchanting fragrance was mainly to deal with the enemy just now. It wasn't to help you ascend, so you don't need to owe this junior a favor. Young man, the immeasurable calamity is about to descend. I don't have the slightest confidence that I can continue protecting this valley. In fact, I might even be destroyed in the immeasurable calamity." The Wisteria Sparrow Gold Tree solemnly refuted Yu Haoran's refusal. "Now, before the immeasurable calamity descends, it's all thanks to the laws of 4 seasons that I was able to escape the restrictions of my main body and leave this valley in search of an opportunity to escape the immeasurable calamity. Therefore, not only did you give Wisteria a new lease of life, but you also saved my life. It's reasonable for Wisteria to repay your kindness. You, Howren, listen to the other party's conditions before you decide if you want to continue refusing. Just as you, Howren, was about to continue delaying and leave the Thousand Butterfly Valley, the Thowling in his sea of consciousness suddenly reminded him. All right. With the Thowling's timely reminder and the Wisteria Sparrow Gold Tree's insistence, you, Howren, finally nodded in agreement. Chapter 1586. In the Thousand Butterfly Valley, the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree heaved a sigh of relief when you Ran agreed to its request for compensation. Then, it told you Ran what it wanted. After the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree reaches rank 1, it needs some space crystals to increase the speed of its departure. Therefore, the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree intends to give all of the remaining space crystals to you. As soon as the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree told you Howren its plan, a pile of sparkling, translucent space crystals appeared in front of you, Howren. You, Howren, the pile of spatial crystals in front of you contains spatial crystals of all grades between grade 10 and grade 4. They should be enough for you to use the void fruit and spatial crystals to successfully comprehend a third of the law of space's auxiliary power. The purple Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree hadn't completely ascended to the first stage, so the tower spirit didn't have to worry about being discovered. It quickly scanned the pile of space crystals in front of it with its divine sense and immediately reminded you Howren excitedly. Thank you, Senior. After receiving Thowling's reminder, you, Howren, immediately put away the space crystals and cupped his hands in thanks. Young man, this string of Wisteria Sparrow Golden Flowers contains a trace of my true body's energy essence. It not only has the power to poison a rank 4 expert of the Emperor Wu Empire, but can also withstand a full blow from a peak rank 7 expert of the Emperor Wu Empire. Thank you, Senior. From a number of space crystals the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree had given him and the string of Wisteria Sparrow Golden Flowers that contained a trace of its true body's energy essence, you, Howren, vaguely guessed that the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree wanted to use this method to resolve the debt of gratitude between them and achieve a pure soul. Therefore, you, Howren, didn't hesitate to accept the bouquet from the purple Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree. Young man, you may leave the valley now. The moment you, Howren, accepted the string of flowers, the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree's originally gentle voice was immediately replaced by a cold indifference. It immediately ordered him to leave. You, Howren, who had originally intended to leave the Thousand Butterfly Valley, immediately cupped his hands in farewell when he saw the other party's sudden change in attitude. Then, without waiting for the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree to reply, he soared into the sky and disappeared from the Thousand Butterfly Valley like a bolt of lightning. At least you know what's good for you. Otherwise, your flesh, your soul, your artifacts, and all the treasures you possess will become the energy for my Wisteria vine to ascend to a supreme realm. Looking at you, Howren, quickly leaving the Thousand Butterfly Valley, a human face appeared on the purple Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree in the depths of the valley. It was a terrifying and evil old face, who, once they were 5,000 kilometers away from the Thousand Butterfly Valley, you, Howren, couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. It was because he had always maintained a high level of vigilance against the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree that when he accepted the string of flowers, he could clearly sense a strong killing intent surging from the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree after the grudge between them was settled. Fortunately, the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree was in a critical state of ascension, and he had left the Thousand Butterfly Valley in time. In the end, the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree didn't attack him. Thowling, hurry up and give me a space crystal to see. After rejoicing, you, Howren, immediately thought of the pile of space crystals that the Wisteria Sparrow Golden Tree had gifted him. He couldn't help but want to feel the unique spatial energy contained within the space crystals. He wanted to see if he could use his monstrous perception to successfully comprehend the supplementary power of the law of space. But to his surprise, the Thowling Golden Tree in his knowledge didn't give him any space crystals. It also didn't give him any response. This puzzled him. Yu Haoran summoned the black bear and winged dragon from his pet space and had them protect him for the time being. Then, his consciousness entered his knowledge sea. Thowling, what's wrong with you? Seeing Thowling sitting cross-legged in his knowledge sea and holding a space ring in a daze, Yu Haoran, who had transformed into his original body, quickly walked up to him and asked, "Sigh." Yu Haoran's questioning voice quickly woke Thowling up from his shock. He suddenly looked up at the sky and let out a long sigh. Then, he looked up at Yu Haoran and said, "Yu Haoran, I finally know why Xue Xiangqin, who didn't have outstanding talent and potential, was able to break through the Emperor Wu realm first and reach the peak of level 3 Emperor Wu realm in one fell swoop." "Why?" Yu Haoran, who was sitting cross-legged opposite Thowling, asked. "Because Xue Xiangqin swallowed Chen Dongyun, who was abandoned by the Yellow Saber, and Huang Haitao, who was abandoned by the Xinyuan sword," Thowling replied with a solemn expression. After hearing the Towered Genie's explanation, Yu Haoran immediately recalled how he had accidentally sensed the intertwining of fates between himself and the other 4 reincarnated fellows when he ascended to the Grandmaster realm. His eyes immediately filled with anticipation as he asked, "Thowling, what's going on?" Yu Haoran, because the Void Mirror can travel through space at will and go wherever he wants to go, in terms of experience and vision, the Xinyuan sword, the Yellow Saber, and the Heaven Refining Pot are far inferior to the Void Mirror. Afraid that Yu Haoran would misunderstand that he was deliberately hiding the secret, that he could increase his cultivation and strength by swallowing the fate of reincarnated people, Thowling explained in advance before explaining. "So, I didn't know that you had a special relationship with the other 4 reincarnated people." "Thowling, I didn't mean to blame you at all." Yu Haoran could feel a trace of nervousness in Thowling's explanation, so he chuckled and comforted him. Yu Haoran, as a tomb that can bury a demon god above the martial god realm, in addition to the special space structure and top construction materials, it also contains the supreme fate of the demon god's tomb itself. Seeing that Yu Haoran believed that he didn't know the secret of swallowing each other's fate to increase his cultivation and strength, Thowling was relieved and quickly explained. Although the supreme fate of the demon god's tomb disappeared when it exploded as reincarnated people, the 5 of you all carry a part of the fate of the demon god's tomb. The swallowing of each other is the fusion of the supreme fate of the demon god's tomb. With the special nature of the supreme fate of the demon god's tomb, if you can gather and fuse all the fate of the demon god's tomb, I'm afraid you can break through the martial god realm in one fell swoop. The body formed by Yu Haoran's mind clenched his fists and breathed heavily, making Yu Haoran's face gradually turn red. "Yu Haoran, calm down." Seeing that Yu Haoran's body formed by Yu Haoran's mind was gradually becoming illusory due to the violent fluctuation of emotions, Thowling hurriedly used the secret method of meditation to remind him loudly. Huff! Taking a deep breath and then slowly exhaling, Yu Haoran barely calmed down the turbulent emotions in his body. Then he looked at Thowling with expectation in his eyes and asked, "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."